2026. This is the Town of Mount Airy Planning Commission meeting. I am calling this meeting to order. If I may ask you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome everyone who took time out of their summer evening to join us this evening, and also to those who have dialed in to the live stream. I want to begin by welcoming two individuals that are on the dais to your right. We have a new alternate commissioner that joined us just a few moments ago via the mayor swearing in, Steve Simmelsberger. On your far right is new to the commission and serving as our alternate according to the town code. And next to him is Heather Wallace. Heather Wallace is now moving into what is referred to as a fully authorized commissioner, having formerly occupied the alternate. So we've got these fancy terms, alternate, fully authorized, etc. But it's worthy of saying to everybody that they're here because they care, and they want to make a difference. We all serve as volunteers, and we serve again for the betterment of the community and this wonderful town. So again, welcome, congratulations, well done. We do have one commissioner absent tonight. And because of that, it's kind of cool that our brand new alternate will be actually voting. So that doesn't happen too often, but he'll exercise his role as the alternate to step into a vacant authorized commissioner seat. And so my first order of business, so that he may exercise his vote, is I'm going to motion that we amend the agenda such that we remove the limitation under citizen comments, which says citizen comments specifically striking for items not on the agenda. Do I have a second?
A second.
I'll go into discussion, and the rationale for that is simple. I'd like to tonight, because we have a rich agenda, to get all of the public comments right up front so that we can register them. And when we go to the discussion point of that agenda, some of your points will be in, kind of at the fore of our thinking, and we can ask the applicant on your behalf. Citizen comments are not meant to be interactive with the applicants or actually with the commissioners here. So again, you being able to say anything you like on any agenda item you like, or the time of day under citizen comments, allows us to copy those and think about those questions, and in a way kind of proxy for you when that particular agenda item comes open. Make sense? Okay. And the other reason is because sometimes I get to the agenda item and I forget to solicit public comments. So I want to make sure they are all available to us up front. So with that discussion, any other discussion or questions as to my rationale? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to strike the limitation for citizen comments, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those who wish to abstain? The motion passes. So citizen comments, when I do open that, will have anything that you wish to speak about. Okay. The next order of business is to review and approve the minutes from the April meeting. We did not have a May meeting, and so Deborah has prepared the April minutes for us. And as I always do, I'll pause while commissioners may look over any notes they may have made. And with that, I'm looking for a motion with regard to approval or disapproval of the April minutes.
Also move.
Commissioner Butts has motioned that we approve the minutes for the April meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
There's a second. I'm opening discussion for any amendments, edits, or changes to the minutes that you have before you for April. Hearing no amendments or edits or discussion, all those in favor of the motion to approve the April minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those who wish to abstain?
Aye.
Very good. You
You've done your homework.
Because he wasn't here, a commissioner has to abstain during that period when the minutes are copied. So, Deborah, you have that vote. Thank you. Okay. Our next order of business, as I mentioned just a moment ago, is I'm opening the meeting to citizen comments. And again, you can speak on any matter, including those that are later in our agenda for this evening. The rules are this. I kindly ask that each speaker limit their remarks to 3 minutes. I'll have a timer up here that will kind of guide you as to when your time is expiring, and I'll politely remind you about 30 seconds out when your 3-minute limit is approaching. And I almost always have to interrupt you, so I'll do that as politely as I can. I ask that when you approach the podium, which is to your left, and I believe our mic is live, that when you approach the podium and begin speaking, just give us your name and just state whether you are or are not a resident of the town of Mount Airy. And lastly, as you speak, and I do this every time, don't be dismayed if you look up and no one here has eye contact with you. We're not ignoring you. We're not being impolite. What we're doing is we're writing down your points, okay? And so I'm sincere about that. I know these commissioners, they want to capture your sentiment and they want to record it, as I mentioned before, because they may carry that into a discussion later this evening. So with those rules, do I see a show of hands of those interested in making a public comment on the agenda tonight or any matter at all? I see 1, 2. Very good. Again, please try to stick to 3 minutes. And Miss in the red shirt, if you'll be first, and then we'll go to this young lady here next.
Hi, is this picking up? Hi, I'm Diane Caparati. I am a town resident. I reside in Summit Ridge on Brattlewreath Way. I have lived there for over 24 years. I'm here about the possibility of an in-home daycare opening up in our neighborhood. I'm actually representing a couple of the people that are in our neighborhood because they couldn't be here due to previous obligations. I personally did not get a notification about this in the mail, and I am within view. I'm like catty-cornered diagonally in the backyard. Our backyards are basically back-to-back diagonally. I kind of having some issues with not getting a notification about it. I had to find out about it from some other neighbors. I'm not always on that side of the street, so I didn't particularly see the sign that was up in the neighborhood. I don't even know how long it has been up. I have a few safety concerns, but my number one concern would be like the tranquility in the neighborhood. Like I said, I've lived there for over 24 years. It's been a very peaceful, quiet neighborhood. We don't have, as far as I know, a lot of home-based businesses of that nature in the neighborhood. We used to have one a long time ago at the opposite end of the neighborhood. So a lot of our current residents do work from home. We're a little bit concerned about noise concerns. There's not a fence in the yard. And from what I understand, again, I don't live on that side of the street, but from other residents that live there, they've been very concerned with some of the safety of the children that already live there darting out into the road, into the road. Additionally, the house next door is under contract and they're moving into the community and have no idea what's going on. So that to me was just a little bit of a concern. And again, I was just surprised that more people in the community did not get a notice. I just wanted to state that I personally am not for it. I'm not against anybody. Obviously, it's not a personal thing. I don't even know the neighbors. And I do wish them well, but unfortunately, I would like to say if I can, I would vote against it if I had the opportunity to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Diane. Okay. Please.
All right. My name is Emily Duval, and I am the president of the Summit Ridge HOA. I am here on behalf of all the board members tonight since they could not be here. Like Diane, I did also not get a notice that this was happening. I heard it through the grapevine. I would like in the future for residents to get more notice for these type of situations. Our community is spread out. So our first concern is if this is approved, who does that fall to when a resident has an issue? If we see this as a town-approved business, that makes it a little confusing for the HOA with what we can enforce and what we can't enforce. So we are concerned about residents who maybe they're having a noise complaint and they come to us. We really can't do much because it's an approved business. So ultimately, I want to ask you the question, who's in charge if this gets approved? Because the HOA would need some kind of guidelines to understand how to better do our roles and serve our residents. Our biggest concern is traffic. The resident that the proposed daycare is sits on a busy intersection. There are 2 stop signs, and then Summer Sweet Lane goes all the way. It's the only access point to Buffalo Road. We're worried that traffic disruptions might become an issue, particularly during drop-off and pickup times for the daycare, whether it's 1 kid or 8 children or 10. I'd like you to think about your communities that you live in and just having outside cars in addition to Amazon trucks, school buses, kids playing in the street. Summit Ridge also has residents on this street, on Summer Sweet, who street side park. So we are already down to 1 lane most evenings when people are home and in the morning when they're getting ready for work. So traffic for us is a huge consideration. We see this as being a big issue. We would also, on that note, be concerned with the daycare monopolizing the street parking, sort of the mentality of this is the daycare drop-off pickup zone, or even backing into driveways, backing out of driveways. For us, it kind of becomes, well, this is a business, so we have to have these streets. We get the street preference, and we want to make sure that that's not an issue. Diane also mentioned the fence. This is also an issue for us.
30 seconds.
Okay, we are concerned that toy equipment, balls, that kind of stuff would go into neighbor's yard and the safety of kids. The HOA governing documents says the daycare could not have any kind of advertising sign for their business, and we would expect them to be compliant with that. No daycare vehicles parked in their driveways and no signs for the daycare. So finally, the board wants our neighborhood to be a place residents enjoy coming home to, and it's been our experience that the unforeseen, usually small problems, become the big ones. So we would just want clarity on, who our residents go to for that help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emily. Once again, anyone who wishes to make a public comment? Hearing none, I am closing the citizens' comment portion of tonight's agenda and moving on to the next item, which is where we will hear from our county liaisons that partner with the town on planning, land use, and myriad other topics. We'll begin with our Carroll County liaison, Ms. Tiffany Fawcett. Tiffany, good to see you. Tell us what's important for us to understand from the county perspective.
I'll do my best. Good evening, and thank you for having me. First, I want to follow up with the April meeting. I'd forwarded some information to answer a question that the chairman had in March regarding the Consolidated Transportation Program priorities. Were there any follow-up questions for that?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay, great. Want to let you know that the Water Sewer 2025 Fall Amendment to the 2023 Water Sewer Master Plan was approved by Maryland Department of Environment on May 20th. And that included a couple requests by Mount Airy. The WRE, or Water Resource Element, was presented to the County Commissioners on the 18th, and they did direct staff to proceed to public hearing on that, so that'll be coming up. For changes to the forest conservation requirements for the county, that was to be aligned with new state requirements. So that went to public hearing on the 18th. Sorry, there was a presentation on May 14th on the new requirements for forest conservation in the county for development, and then public hearing on the 18th of June, and that's going to be before the county commissioners for a vote on the 9th of July. For the Watersville annexation, that was before our Planning Commission on the 16th of June, and they did support it but did express concerns. for the type of use, light, traffic, and water concerns as well. It went to the Board of County Commissioners on the 18th of June, and they motioned to delay action on the comment letter, but it'll be before them on the 9th of July again. And for the Maryland's HB 1466 ADU requirements to allow for ADUs with every residence, we are expecting our Planning Commission to make recommendations to the County Commissioners on their July 8th night meeting regarding that. So moving along with that. And the County Commissioners did approve the recommendation to allocate $85,000 of the program open space money to the Watkins Glen court rehab and retaining wall stabilization. And that's about all I have for tonight. Any questions?
Fantastic. Quick question.
Yep.
Is there a hearing set for the WRE?
Not yet. I'll email John when I get a chance with that one. I'll let you know.
And I'll make sure I forward that out to everybody else.
Okay.
So when I get the email, I'll make sure I forward it to all the planning commission members.
Gotcha. Any other questions for Ms. Fawcett? Thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you.
Our Frederick County liaison, Ms. Vanessa Moreno, and that may be a different last name, and I apologize. But before I give the floor to Ms. Moreno, I want to sadly comment that I believe this is your last evening with us. Is that correct?
It is, yes.
And just sincerely, from all of us up here on the dais, and I venture from the town staff also, we've really valued all of your service in being our liaison and keeping us tied into Frederick City and all the goings on in Frederick County. If I may share, I hope I can, you're headed to Colorado.
That's correct.
So you're going to be leaving the East Coast, Frederick, of course, and headed there for new and bigger things with your family now,
Yeah,
right?
That's right, yeah.
So really, Vanessa, we wish you the very, very best because you've given us the very best in being our liaison. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for the kind words. Definitely bittersweet. You know, I've had the pleasure of serving as your Frederick County liaison, and I've learned so much in my short time, but you all are doing amazing work for Mount Airy. So I'm definitely going to miss coming by on these Mondays. So thanks for having me. So just jumping right into my update, not too much for this month. I did follow up with our development review planner, who is in charge of the projects in the Mount Airy and Newmarket area, and he mentioned that there were no major subdivision or development updates in the area. And then for the Livable Frederick Long Range Planning Office, our green infrastructure plan was recently adopted by our county council this past month. Currently, we are workshopping the housing element and the investing in workers and workplaces plan with our county council, so we're hoping to see final approval in July or August. And then we recently had our annual report approved by our planning commission this past month. So just knocking out these plans little by little. And yes, that is all I have for this evening. Short and sweet.
Any questions for Vanessa? Again, sincerely, thank you so much, Vanessa, and safe travels.
Thank you guys so much. Take care.
And John, I'm sure you're working on the next Vanessa for us.
I've already put a request in for that, but
Fantastic. I know.
no takers yet.
I know you're doing that. It'd be tough shoes to fill, sincerely. I'm moving now to the agenda item number 5, which is the introduction for possible approval for the McAlister Deli sign application. The applicant requests approval of proposed signs for the Mount Airy McAlister's Deli. This is located at 309 Ridgeville Boulevard. For most of us, we know that to be just to the right of Walmart. If I can ask the applicant's representative to come forward while you're getting settled, sir. John, could you go ahead and give us a staff report on this and a recommendation?
Sure. Thank you, Ralph. Again, this is McAlister's Deli. They're currently working on redoing the old shoe depot or shoe department suite inside the shopping center where the Walmart and the Safeway is. Again, they are asking for a few signs. And I do want to mention, as you look at the one sign over the entrance of the door, they initially submitted a much larger sign, which would have been outside of the parameters of our sign permits that could be allowed. So they came back with a reduced size. And part of that, there's an orange surround, if you see around this, that we're not including inside the measurement because it's non-illuminated. It's basically a stagnant frame for it. So we're looking at the lettering itself for the square footage. And if you look at the actual total square footage, we're looking at 32 square feet for the 2 lettered signs. Again, the applicant has been really, it was kind of interesting. It first came in and it was sort of preliminary requesting of the signs. And as we worked through it, realized it wouldn't be in front of planning before I went out. So we're trying to get it back on planning as soon as possible, which is tonight, for approval from the planning department. And again, it is in conformity with the development, or with the shopping center. As you'll see, the super sensitive. You'll see that there's existing gooseneck lighting through the whole shopping center. That's going to be remaining. Again, that McAlister's Deli above the door. I will mention that this is not a box sign here. This is actually raised letters that'll be pushed through a metal plate. That'll be, the letters will be illuminated, but the metal plate will not. So during the day, it'll look white, but at night, you'll just see red Deli sign underneath McAlister's. And then the other signs that they're going to be having, of course, are the ones on the entrance door showing the name of the business and the operation hours. And again, the other one would be the sign over top of the canopy, which in previous situations, we haven't allocated that towards any kind of square footage requirements because it's just a standard wayfinder as you're walking down the corridor. You really can't see it from the road.
Right.
So again, we are recommending approval of that. See what it says here.
Okay.
Yep, we're recommending granting the approval of the proposed signs for the McAlister Deli with no other restrictions.
Okay. Hey, thank you, John, and town staff. And sir, if I could just ask you to identify yourself, and
Yes.
I want to give you an opportunity to supplement any of the staff report with any other comments.
Hi, everyone. Gary Brent, MG Permits, representing the sign company, McAlister's. John did a great job. John and Debbie have been great to work with, like they always are. There's not much to supplement other than just to reinforce that the deli letters, it's a gray painted area. It's a aluminum panel. It's opaque. And the deli letters are pushed through acrylic with vinyl covered. So that's the only portion of that sign that will be illuminated. Otherwise, it's internally illuminated with LEDs. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Everything else John covered. Any questions?
I did not hear any public comments regarding these, so I will not mention those or bring those up. I turn to the commissioners. If you have any questions on the sign application, we are applying 112-11 of the town code to this application. Any questions or discussion? I have a few. The application doesn't include any off-premises McAlister's Deli sign, for example, at the entrance to Walmart off of Ridgeville Boulevard. Is that a supplemental sign that we'll see later?
And I'm not aware of that. If that's up there, I'd have to question
It's
why.
the typical entrance with the various retailers that sometimes.
Oh, I see.
It all depends, I imagine, on the shopping center manager.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess it also depends on the actual, that entrance signs you speak of. Again, there's only so much real estate, and not every business gets a spot. Now, if the
Right.
shoe department had a spot there,
They did.
they would have potentially received that as part of their lease. But again, it wasn't part of the application. So if it were to come in, we could have the planning commission waive that to allow me to sign off on that if it were to come in for some reason, instead of having to bring it back just for 2 signs on, or I guess it'd be 4 total signs.
Yes.
Because that's sort of part of the site plan as well, which is sort of a number we don't take into consideration for total square footage.
I think the property owner allocates the number of tenants that can fit on that sign. So I think John's right there. There may not be a space available, but if we do get that, certainly we're coming back to see John.
Yeah, it's a fairly simple sign. I mean, it's
I would think that
It's a
would be something.
reface. They would
just a
slide
strip
up. Yeah, that's
sort
it.
of thing.
And along those lines, so one more thing, the pedestrian sign that John mentioned, it's under canopy sign you see on the sidewalk. The sign is existing. We're proposing just applying the vinyl logo that's in the plan to that existing sign. It's that one right there. Yeah, John. That's just vinyl on an existing sign. It's currently installed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. One last chance. Any other questions?
I have one.
Commissioner Butts?
I'm just wondering, do we know of any other McAlisters in the area or nearby?
We've done some permits for McAlister's. There's one in Baltimore City, sort of right in the near the harbor. Similar, exactly the same. Actually, this is their national logo. That's the only one that I'm aware of that we again did permitting 2025 for that location.
You know, I was just wondering, what they had to offer and what was the response to it, and satisfaction of the community around them and that sort of thing. We don't have any idea about that.
I don't know much about the business itself. We work with a sign company, but they seem pretty popular. There's stores around the country for restaurants. Yeah.
With that, I motion to approve the sign application for the business known as McAlister's Deli located at 309 East Ridgeville Boulevard, Mount Airy, Maryland 21771, and allow the planning and zoning administrator to approve any additional off-premises signage at the existing entry monument signs. Does that satisfy?
Good for me.
Town attorney? Okay. Motion made. I need a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wallace. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve the sign application for the business known as McAlister's Deli located at 309 East Ridgeville Boulevard, Mount Airy, and to allow the planning and zoning administrator to approve any additional off-premises signage at the entry monument signs, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Those abstaining?
Aye.
One abstention. The motion passes with one abstention. Thank you.
4 to 1, yeah.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Everyone have a happy 4th.
Hey, you also. Be safe. The next item on our agenda is number 6. It's the introduction and possible approval of a signage application for the business known as Liquidity Aleworks, located at 8 North Main Street, Mount Airy, Maryland. Is there a representative for the business, sir? I believe it's Billy, but come on up. Have a seat while you're getting settled. John, could you give us a staff report, please, and a recommendation?
Sure, thank you. So this is Liquidity Aleworks. I apologize for the picture. This was from my cell phone. It was horrible, but it does show the locations to the left and right of the main entrance off of Main Street, kind of with the, I guess you'd call it almost like a marquee for I think of like, if you're going to the movies, they'd have their movie poster in there. So this is sort of the advertisement for what's going on, possibly in the bank or now in Liquidity Aleworks. Again, we received this application just recently, and we're able to get it onto the Planning Commission because there is a time sensitivity. The applicant had gotten funding through MAMSA for replacing these signs, and they think they have to be either approved or installed before the end of the month. So it's a pretty tight timeline. Anyway, So again, these are LED TVs, and I'll switch to and I apologize, I have to rotate this one, but, and again, let's go down with a little bit of a size here. So again, this is currently one of the signs on one of the side of the doors would be this logo. And then the next one would be sort of the events up and coming in the previous days from possibly whatever day they have an event. So, they might change it. My understanding from Billy is that, when Monday's done, it might scroll up and it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then on, Tuesday it'll scroll up, it'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just sort of to show people who are coming in and out of the bar of, potential opportunities to come back and be involved in the community. Again, the total frontage of this property is 300 feet. And again, it is on a corner lot, so it actually has two frontages in a way. And current signage is very minimal on the building. They do have some flags outside, but there's only one logo on I guess it's the south-facing side of the building, and the one on the main door as you come in. And they might be 6 square feet or so total, maybe 3 by 3 is what I would estimate. So they're very minimal in signage. Again, I did not put a recommendation in here because, again, it's a very delicate dance with our code, the way it's written. It's really tough for me to be objective and say yes or no. I kind of want to see the business grow, but, our code is sort of ambiguous in saying that maybe it's not allowed. So I don't want to be that person, so.
Gotcha.
But again, I think, it's really I'm leaving it up to the planning commission to make that determination on if it's a good idea, a bad idea, what type of restrictions it might have, brightness, color changing, those type of things I think is really potentially the parameters you guys could set as a planning commission.
Thank you, John. No, I understand. I did a bit of wrestling myself. Sir, if you could, for the record, just give us your name and any other supplemental comments to the staff report on your application.
I appreciate that. My name is Billy Devers. I am one of the owners at Liquidity Aleworks, and I appreciate you all taking the time to discuss this with us tonight. We are planning to install 2 LED televisions. They are commercial LCD televisions, like meant to be signage, not just TVs. They will not have moving pictures or anything like that. They will not scroll while people are driving by. They will change once per day. It will literally be in the middle of the night if it works as I have worked out. And I do think that it's going to work. I did test it the other day. And basically it will change. We will do some change to make sure that it does not burn in images on the televisions. So one will say the Liquidity Aleworks and one will have a schedule, and then they will flip after midnight. And then the schedule, we probably actually will only change it twice a week. It will be Monday through Thursday. And then on Thursday evening, it will say Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you won't get a ton of movement, period. It will literally be when it is changing to protect the televisions and give us some longevity with the equipment that we're putting in there. But then also it is giving us, just general information about what's going on the weekend and during the week.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the commissioners on this application? And I would invite you to, again, 112-11, which adds to our deliberation the consideration that this is in the downtown zone, also known and described as the historic zone, where beyond the code, we also have the design guidelines invoked in the deliberation and decision-making on this. So again, any commissioner have some questions?
I have a quick question.
Martina?
How bright, did you say how bright it was going to be? Like, you don't expect it to be disturbing any other businesses? It's going to change in the middle of the night?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They are sensitive to that and will change. So at night they will get dimmer so that they are not like shining out into the street like a bright spotlight or anything like that.
Yeah, I just have visions of somebody driving and going like this and hitting someone else.
Sure.
I don't want
That is our concern, and that is why they will dim at night.
Yeah, because people will cross the street at night as well, and
Sure.
we don't want anyone distracted.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be moving, it's just changing.
Just changing, literally like changing one frame.
Okay.
And at night too, like
Yeah.
ideally like 2 or 3 a.m. when there's the least amount of traffic on the road.
I have a question.
Steve?
Steve, if you could put the mic towards you and make sure it's on green.
It's on. I tried to go back to the initial site plan, and I couldn't bring it up on the town's website. Was there any discussion on these signs in the original site plan that would have said they, were prevented using them, or said they could use them, or was there anything?
We did discuss this with both John and Barney when we were doing this. I don't recall
Do you know what the,
a specific thing, but nobody ever said, no, this would be a problem.
okay, and then the other question I had was, where does this sign fit in the code? Because I think you had mentioned maybe an applied wall sign, but those are surface mounted on the signboard area. This isn't obviously the signboard area. So do we actually have anything in the code that describes this type of sign to meet the criteria to meet?
Yeah, so let me pivot on your question back to Mr. Devers, and that is, would the device, let me use that term because it's kind of neutral, would the device that you're looking to place in those existing enclosures, would that device be an electronic display that projects images onto a screen?
It's that last part that I'm not sure. I mean, it is a screen, but it doesn't project images onto a screen.
Is it, let me add a little bit to kind of help us along here.
Sure.
I'm trying to get to common ground on what we're talking about. That's kind of where I'm headed, so
Gotcha.
just stay with my compass here. Is it a LCD? Do you know that detail?
It is an LED.
It is an LED, okay, a light emitting diode thing, okay. But it is an electronic display,
It is, yes.
okay. And of course, for the very reason you're having it, it will project an image.
There will be an image on it, yes.
Right. And so I go through that rather rigor because one of the codes that we have to apply on sign applications, 112-11, leads off with signs which are prohibited within the town. And one of those signs is flashing signs. I think you've kind of relieved our concern that it could be flashing because of the one-a-day frequency of it changing. I'm trying to use flashing and changing synonymously here. But it does say under paragraph H that projected image signs, except for menu boards at our drive-through fast food restaurants, are prohibited. So that's our quandary here, to try to make sure that we are serving the town by adhering to the code. And so, which is an objective view of this. And not to get into a long, 4-drink discussion, we do try to minimize our subjectivity, as in we think it brings no harm, or, I feel, those sorts of words. And so we all start off, I think we all start off with a bit of kind of a technical forensics on what does the code just say. And I go back to the definition that it says clearly a prohibited sign includes projected image signs. Secondly, it does say that if it's in the downtown zone, i.e. the historic district, we are to apply the design guidelines from 2010. And so when we look at the design guidelines, we are charged on the Planning Commission to kind of maintain the aesthetics, the atmosphere, the historic district ambiance. Now, I just subtly shifted into subjectivity, didn't I? Because aesthetics and what looks good to you may look bad to the next Joe or Jane. So you see what I'm saying?
I 100%
Yeah.
understand what you're saying.
And so I kind of wrap up all these long words back to what John was saying, because I kind of understand when he said a recommendation is difficult. We have a code that kind of draws a very firm line as to this particular application, including a device which fits rather clearly into a projected image, and also then the other design guidelines that talk about, is this changing the character of the area? A historic building now with an electronic set of displays on it, if everybody's following me. And I'll shut up right there and welcome any, if I've turned on any synapses from Commissioner Wallace.
Well, I had the same questions when I was looking at this application, and when I was looking through the code and reading about projected image signs, and it does mention something about LCD, but truly the code needs to be updated to address modern technology because, it's moving faster than the code is moving, and that is technically not a projected image sign. I mean, a projected is literally a projection. So.
It's difficult.
But, well, right, it is difficult, but I do think that you offered that the Planning Commission can grant a variation in this case, so.
And we have had other cases, not in the downtown zone, of an applicant coming in and asking for the same variation.
Yeah,
That was in a community commercial setting, so.
If I recall, Ridgeside.
Yep.
Ridgeside, yeah, kind of our fast food avenue, right? Right, I'm sorry, it wasn't a fast food, but it's in that alley. I shouldn't say alley, it's in that boulevard.
Yeah.
It's in that area, okay. And so, with regard to.
Can I kick back to, let's go to the top of the second page. You look at number 2, it says all signs. Again, we understand it's potentially prohibited, but if you look, it says, building signs should be immobile, which is these two would be, non-flashing, because they'll be changing at night. And no way, mess with resemble traffic symbols or warning devices. If they're going to be a black, monotone, white and black background, there's hardly any white image related to the signs. Mm-hmm. And if we go back to the previous picture, and of course I got to rotate again, I apologize, but you'll see that these signs are already almost there. All we're doing is infilling this existing sign. They're not going to project, if anything, they might project even less. I don't think you're utilizing the boxes, but they'll be about the same size as those boxes.
They are slightly smaller.
Okay, slightly smaller, so almost more of like in the white area.
Yes.
Are you gonna use the frame and put it inside the frame?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that'll look good. So it has some some depth to it and not just a flat screen against the wall. They're gonna probably take the plastic out of the front or replace the plastic.
I will replace it to make it look.
Right, so clean plastic, and then they'll be mounting them inside the boxes themselves. So the exterior of the building isn't changing except for having the device behind clear glass or clear plexiglass. So again, it's challenging. And again, we have to, you have to make a decision.
Well, someone has to make a motion. And then we'll decide. There was a mention of paragraph Q, and Commissioner Wallace was correct. In issues where something similar to this, the code is written such that what's referred to as a variance from the code can be determined by the commissioners. And so when I consult those words, it reads, the Planning Commission may grant a variation in the case of a permanent sign, which this, I believe, is going to be.
That is the plan.
The zoning administrator, which is a misspelling, the zoning administrator may grant a variation in the case, yes. So we may grant in the case of a permanent sign and the zoning administrator in the case of a temporary sign as to an applicable size or quantity per property or business. So the variation is turned on only when we have an issue with the applicable size of the desired signage or the number, not a variation allowed as to the type, the projected image device. And so I'm going to kind of swivel to make sure I'm not misreading that with the town attorney. Tom, am I on base with size and quantity being the only basis by which a variance is entertained?
Agreed. That's exactly how I read it. And frankly, that's consistent with variances that a Board of Appeals would grant. They can't grant variances except dimensional variances, setback variances, measurements. And that's essentially what this is sort of saying. So I agree that the variation, we call it that because it's in the hands of a planning commission as opposed to a Board of Appeals,
Right.
Really is available under the terms of our code for the number of signs or the size of signs. It's really not meant, according to the code, for approving signs that are otherwise prohibited. The closer issue is this a projected image sign? I'm no expert on the technologies here, but in looking at it, typically LEDs are not in and of themselves projected image signs, but what causes a problem is our definition of projected image sign, which includes very specifically LCD and plasma displays. As I understand, this is not a plasma display, so but LCD is a very similar technology, but it is different than LEDs. So, you know, I think when this came up before, and I believe one was approved in the, what'd you call it, the fast food alley? I believe it was approved, but back then the comment was this code probably needs to be updated very badly relative to this. So, you know, that's kind of where we sit today.
Sure.
Again, a town always has the ability to decide whether it's going to enforce its provisions or not enforce its provisions. And this is firmly in the hands of the Planning Commission by code. But if you want to go by the actual wording of the current code, which again, I think we discussed probably needs to be updated very badly. I could see both arguments. LCD is not LED, but it's pretty similar. And we wrap LCD in to our definition of projected image signs, which is unique. That's not always the case.
Right. Commissioner Hadley?
I just have a quick question for you, Tom. Are we allowed to sort of temporarily approve?
Well, the problem is that the signs can go in.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know, but
you know,
I'm just trying to figure out how to balance this out. Because it's not going to be neon, garish, bright flashing, and these are the only electronic signs you will ever stick on this building? You're not going to have any more in the future? Because, I mean...
That is not the plan.
Yeah, okay. We talked about the downtown aesthetic and how everyone's worked so hard to keep it a certain look. So this is a really hard decision.
Yeah, was there another question over here? Sean? Yeah, hey.
If you'll indulge me, I have three.
Absolutely. No, actually, I mean, because everybody should know this. I mean, if we're talking about the need to change the code, that's a legislative act under the council.
Yeah. I think it needs to be updated, yeah. But so first, not to parse words, but I think of this as it's displaying an image. It's not projecting an image. Okay, it's not like forcing an image out and, you know, somebody over in the rail yard's gonna go, oh man, what is that? You know, it's displaying an image for me. And so a key word in this whole point is static, right? And to me, these are digital posters. That's what they are, right? It's not, as Billy said, they're not flashing. There's no video content. They're digital posters. My last point is this is the way things are going, right? In my experience, event, product marketing, I mean, if you go to trade shows, there's almost no physical, signage or even paper signage anymore. There's LED displays, and you pop a thumb drive in every year for your trade show, and that's the new content, right? You're not buying new materials every year, right? Yep. So I would say displayed over projected. I would say LED is obviously not in the code. Technology has outpaced the code, and I think of these as digital posters, and that's the way the marketing industry is going, or it's already there, I would say.
No, I track with you there. Let me pose a question, if I may, to the other commissioners. With what has been proposed as a good example of the display, that black background, kind of, I'm going to use the word, kind of austere with a lot of flash. I mean,
I was going for like an old print kind of looking thing.
Yeah. And not to reveal my age, but those lovely boxes on either side of the main entrance kind of spoke to me like when we used to walk into the old movie theaters and we'd see the movie posters kind of locked behind the glass. And, Charlton Heston and Ben-Hur. And now
Sure.
People are going, how old is he? But
okay, I love watching Ben-Hur with my dad.
Carl, quit laughing. I know you're from that. But so I will acknowledge, and again, I'm being subjective here with apologies, that they kind of beg for something to go in there because it looks like that. What's going to be the show next week coming up, featured attractions kind of thing. And so I totally understand the utility of those two because they're empty now. Is that correct?
They are empty now.
Okay. The only other thing I'll bring up, not to belabor this decision here, but with what we've been shown as a typical background and lettering, does any commissioner have a concern that it fronts North Main Street and poses, even in this infrequent change, but with what we see as a safety hazard that would capture a driver going by, diverting their attention, bringing a risk to the intersection with Prospect, et cetera, et cetera. Does anyone have any sentiment about that?
No.
From a safety standpoint? Okay, no? Okay.
Ralph, can I say one more thing?
Sure, absolutely, John, help us.
Again, I think, and I hope liquidity stays there forever, right? But we have to also consider that, for whatever reason they go under and we have some other business comes in and is trying to utilize that sign. I'm not sure how we control that. I mean, would they have to come back in and come in front of the commission as well for approval if some other business were to go in there?
Oh, as far as the content?
Right, that they would be changing this and maybe they go with, a Technicolor, that's flashing and
I get your point.
So I'm just how we control that. And again, I hope they stay there. I hope it's this monotone. I think it looks really clean.
Yeah.
But what happens if they're not there and who's controlling that?
Yeah, that would be kind of similar to.
And this is speculative too, because who knows? Hopefully they're going to be there. And the only other thing I want to point out is also we do have residential right across the street above the plumbery. That's why I want to make sure it's not super bright or flashing lots.
Interesting.
Because again, we do have residential.
That's right.
On the adjacent property across the street.
Yeah, we do.
Is that zoned residential?
Nope, that's in the downtown zones, but you do have residential on the second and third floor of many of the
Kind of that
places
mixed
here.
use downtown zone. I think there was a comment on this side.
I was just going to say that, and that's part of the code that needs to be updated too, right? I mean, the way I read the code, it's trying to prevent, any part of the town to look like, Mount Vegas, right?
Right.
No flashing signs and,
Exactly.
Right? So that's the way I read the code, right? That's not what we want, of the character of the town.
Right.
To me, that's not what's being proposed. And that'd be part of the update, right? Where, static is the perfect word,
Yep,
right?
I agree.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Spoiler alert, I do want to work with Tom to update that part of the code. It's very outdated. But I think static, if static needs to go in there and update it for the type of display it is.
I'll throw in one more comment. If we were to disapprove this and Mr. Devers were to go with let's say hard copy posters, then he would put a light in the top of the box in order for it to be visible, right? so it could be displayed. So he would have that paper image, but he would still have to have a light in that box if we want people to be able to read it after dark. So there would be a light coming from that box just to do that.
I would even find that more distractive, actually, because you'd have these bright, white or yellow lights that are now flashing the whole sign, illuminating.
And I'm kind of going that way in kind of the whole analysis, because if this were denied, he'd be within his rights to do just that and put a light in the box and it shine out toward North Main. You're saying a lighted box sign.
Box signs are prohibited.
So you would saying that would fall into the other prohibition for lighted box sign. I got you.
I mean,
Boy.
Well, I think the lighted box sign is similar to what's in the front of the plumbery is what the definition really means. And that's a form-fitted acrylic plastic sign that has a piece of flame, like, with the LED, or not LED, but a fluorescent bulb behind it. I think that's what a box sign, illuminated box sign is the definition of that. Not, because he could put a gooseneck over top of it and he'd be in compliance.
Right.
So,
To my point.
right.
And that would be totally okay with our 112-11. Commissioner Hadley?
I just going to ask real quick, you've never had a complaint from any of the residents across the street regarding the noise or lights or anything that you guys have ever done?
Never once.
Okay, thank you.
And
Can I ask a question?
Now that I've said that, I'm sure I'll get one tomorrow.
This is for Tom. So if there were a motion to approve it with the, that it's static and that it's, would that carry over, in the case of what John was saying, if someone else were going to use it?
Yeah, well, first of all, it may well be that any successor may have to come forward with a site plan. I don't know what the exterior improvements might be. But certainly, if you're going to change the sign, you got to come back and get approval for that.
Right, that's what I thought. And then the other thing I just wanted to note is that the fact that he is keeping the existing, historical detail on the building and just putting the static display inside, I think is actually nice. I think it's good, yeah. And it's in keeping with the,
the historic and
Exactly.
architectural design of the building. It belongs to the building.
Yeah, as far as, that being what we see and then suddenly it becoming something other than that, thoughts, John, and maybe even Tom, as to, I don't know, the vetting of that, or are you committing to that being pretty much the permanent format?
This is pretty much the idea. The only difference you might see is that if we have, like, say, Oktoberfest, that might say Oktoberfest and have a list of the menu or something.
Right.
But it's not going to ever be something garishly different. I have a very strict branding schedule, and this fits in the branding schedule. It needs to stay in that.
Okay.
which is the black and white you're saying.
Yes,
Right.
and this is League Gothic. That's that font. That is the font that's on our logo, and that is primarily what we use for official looking branding. We have like a America 250 shirt that we just put out today, and we used different fonts for that to match with the America 250. Those are exceptions. Typically, this is what you see from us, this League Gothic with the bottle with the tie, plain kind of business-like. That's the idea that we're in a bank. We want to look like this business kind of place. It's a marketing scheme is what it is.
Gotcha. And if, last question, I hope, I've said that 3 times now. And if the town staff were to find, and I know you've stated it's unlikely and that's your branding, if we were to find some issue to take, or a driver say it's too bright, or there's a very imaginative change to that, I'm sure as a business owner, you'd be open to the town staff casual discussion about, hey,
I'm always open to discussion about
good to hear, Billy.
anything.
Good, okay. And again, I'm coming at you primarily from a safety standpoint, because a lot of the flashing and changing does ring with a lot of us when we talk about busy streets and distracted drivers and the intersection nearby Prospect with folks turning and looking at the building. It's all very reasonable to have that concern.
No, I appreciate that point of view, Mr. Kent. I really do.
Thank you, Billy. Last call for comments, questions?
Just one question. About what percentage would you be dimming to at night?
The TV itself has like a
night.
day and a night setting,
Okay.
and it does it on its own.
Cool, thank you.
Very good. And so with that thorough discussion, do I have a motion with regard to the sign application from the business known as Liquidity Aleworks at 8 North Main Street?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the sign with the conditions of a once per day change, a static image, and that it's at night dimmed to the night setting.
Is there a second to that motion? I think he got ahead of you.
Yeah, it's okay.
Commissioner Butt second. Is there any further discussion? Discussion on the motion words or text? Hearing none.
Do we need to include that the sign stays black and white?
That suggested point has to go back to the motioner. Motioner, would you adjust your motion for that detail?
I would accept that if there's something like Oktoberfest and he has some yellow on a beer mug on it or something. I didn't want to go that far, but yeah.
Okay. So it's a good comment. The motion stands and stands seconded. No modification to the motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion made and seconded, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Those who wish to abstain? Under those conditions, the signage has been approved. Mr. Devers, thank you very much. And I hope we came across as being very thorough.
I appreciate your candor. I appreciate all of your questions. I felt like they were very valid and appropriate.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Yes, thank you all. Town staff too. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the introduction and discussion of the home occupation in-home daycare. This is located in the neighborhood known as Summit Ridge. This is also recorded in the town staff as MA-BOA-2026-02. And in this agenda item, the role of the Planning Commission is to provide a recommendation to the Board of Appeals. And as I have, I'll turn to the town staff for a staff report and a recommendation, John.
Yeah, thank you, Ralph. Again, this is a request for to run a home occupation out of 1412 Summer Sweet Lane, Mount Airy, Maryland. The zoning is R2 residential, low density residential. The lot is lot 117, and the total lot square footage is 17,964 square feet. Excuse me. And again, it is under zoning section 112-25C1 home occupation. Again, the applicant is present. They'll introduce themselves here in a minute. And again, there were some modifications in the letter that I sent out to you guys at the table here. I apologize for not getting it to you earlier. Again, in our code, this is an allowed use with a special exception that goes through the process of a recommendation from the Board of Appeals, from the Planning Commission to the Board of Appeals. That hearing for them, for the Board of Appeals, is scheduled for July the 23rd at 7 p.m. Again, as you'll see going through the staff report, it basically hits all the target questions related to the criteria for the special exception. And if you have any questions on this as we're going through, I'm more than glad to answer them. Her staff recommendation is that the Planning Commission provides a favorable recommendation to the Board of Appeals on the special exception requested to establish a home occupation licensed home daycare business at 1412 Summer Sweet Lane, Mount Airy, Maryland, 21771. And I will mention, I do have, the applicant did submit a fence permit that we received today. A fence permit That was the paper that's in front of you as well. I don't have it on the slideshow, but they are encasing the whole backyard with a 4-foot-high fence to enclose that whole backyard, which is the red line. You can kind of see it. It's very hard to see on the thing here. It's a very thin line, but they're proposing to have, and that'll be accessed from the rear of the house, or possibly 2 gates, which I'm sure will be locked with child-proof locks. There's 2 gates on the at the 2 front portions of the fence. And to the one lady's comment about notification, the applicant submitted, I think, just the adjoining property owners. Deborah, I was actually out during this time of the application coming in. She actually did a little bit more research and sent out even more notification to, I think it was like a dozen people, 17 people that lived in that community that were very close to this property, to make sure we were informing the public. I don't know if we have a label of our HOAs. I'm sitting there as she's speaking. I'm thinking, we should get all the HOA presidents, and if there's a project that's happening within their community, be able to reach out to that HOA president to let them be aware of it.
Yeah, I like that
But that's
idea.
something we'll have to work towards, getting those HOA presidents. They come and go, so we have to, or the board, to send out emails to those people as well of notification for, this and the Board of Appeals hearing. And the other point I wanted to make, again, is we did receive one email that's also in front of you from a person who was unable to be at tonight's meeting. It's the second page behind the one that shows the map, and he is in opposition of it as well. But again, the staff is recommending approval because, again, it is allowed in the code, and that's the right of a property owner to do exactly what they're doing right now.
Okay. Sir and ma'am, if you could just state your name for the record, and if you wish, your opportunity to supplement any of the application with additional information.
My name is Tina. I have working with the kids for like more than 18 years, plus 18. So I really understand, the neighbor's concern. If you want to say your name first, sorry. Okay. I really understand their concern about the noise and the traffic and everything. So I'm working as a Montessori lead teacher for so many years now, and I love working with the kids. And when we came and moved to our house, I noticed, I met so many people, so many families, they having little children. So I really love to help and serve the community by opening the daycare, So I want to also say the daycare is going to be teaching daycare. Like the Montessori method, it's not like a playful daycare. It's like a learning daycare. So so the playtime outside, it's very limited, required by the Maryland license. So we have the schedule for the day. So we're going outside in the morning for a little bit of time, and most of the time we're gonna be indoor, like teaching. And afternoon, same. If the weather is okay, we're gonna take them outside for a little bit of time to play and get fresh air, not like staying the whole day outside.
Mm-hmm.
And also the traffic, it's not gonna be a traffic. It's gonna be it's gonna be a small daycare, a small home daycare. So it's not gonna have so many children. And the parents, they will drop off and pick up like couple minutes in the morning and also in the afternoon. So, and we have in front of our house, we have like too many parking, and the same as along the side of the street as needed. So we have also couple, spaces for the cars. and they're not gonna come in the same time. So they're gonna come in a different time drop off and different time pick them up.
Okay, and is,
Good evening.
you're sir?
I'm Jan Wahba,
Okay.
Tina's husband.
My husband.
And that's pronounced WAPA?
Yeah, Wahba.
WAPA, thank you. And sir, did you want to add anything on your application?
No, I want to sum it up. As Mr. Pleading and Tina mentioned, this is going to be a small daycare. As you can notice, Tina is already pregnant, so she's due mid-July. So one of the kids that's going to be allowed is actually our own kid.
I see.
Yeah.
So we're going to have like 6, 7 kids. That's maximum.
Okay.
And as we mentioned, we hoping that we can serve the community. So probably we will have some of our neighbors bringing their kids too. So that's going to actually limit the parking traffic even more.
Yeah.
Okay.
My understanding also is that she'll be the only employee. There's no another employee that would be allowed, I don't think. It would just be her.
Wow, right. Yeah, home occupant.
Yep.
Home occupant, right. Okay, so for the good of the public, I wanted to lead off and then turn to the commissioner's questions, as we always do, by saying this is again, Planning Commission deliberation that provides the Board of Appeals a recommendation. So the decision authority on this use would reside at that next meeting at the Board of Appeals. It comes through us primarily because we are the experts with zoning districts and what's allowed within the various zoning districts, whether it's residential, industrial, or whatever. And so kind of now tipping into that, this is R2, if I'm not mistaken, residential zoned R2. And within R2, the wording in our code under 112-25 states that home occupations are a special exception within the R2. And again, a special exception use vetted by us triggers our recommendation then to go to the final authority, which is the Board of Appeals. So this is not a permitted use, it is an exception use per the code. So I just wanted to clarify that for everybody interested in this. And so again, under that code, the home occupations paragraph that we are then led next to deliberate on is 112-62, paragraph F, Bowleg 7, okay? And so if we now tip to 7, we can see that it gives us guidance with regard to deliberating on what is referred to now as home occupations, okay? Where the home occupant has a business. And in this case, if I may refine that down to, it's a daycare of a certain number of children. So just being very rigorous here as to how we apply the code. And so I mention all that and go through all that so that if the commissioners do have questions, it's focused on that 112-62F7 paragraph, which covers home occupation, requirements under that paragraph, et cetera, et cetera. And then as a closing comment, and I'll shut up and let you, to the commissioners, not to the new one, but to the veteran commissioners here, we've wrestled with this before under a different paragraph. We wrestled with it under 112-62F10, if I'm not mistaken, John. And we then decided from both looking at 7 home occupation and 10, which actually says nursery schools and daycare centers, we felt that home-based daycare of a limited number of children was meant within the code, and this is also consulting with the town attorney, more aligned to paragraph 7, home occupations. And so a bit of history there, to be fair, a bit of how we have deliberated in the past. And so I'm fairly confident, but I welcome your second thoughts, commissioners, as to 7 home occupations being applied here, but I believe it's valid. So with that, are there any questions on this application?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Obviously, this is my first time going through this, but when going through and trying to look at the different codes, And the fact that they said they are going to actually have a school, Montessori-type school, does that change anything? Because now it's a teaching facility and a school rather than a simple daycare.
Which is kind of pointing us back to the words under 10, which says nursery school. Is that where you're going, Steve? Or just school in general?
I'm not sure. I just, for some reason, and I don't have the notes because I didn't think it was a teaching or a school facility. I thought there were different requirements that came into play when it was actually a school, a learning facility rather than just a daycare.
Tom, I mean, is there a distinction here because it is a home occupation that teaches part of the time in that occupation?
Well, I didn't hear them to say, their model is sort of a Montessori model. All they're suggesting is that the outdoor playtime is going to be restricted, but I don't think that makes it a school. I would also say that typically in the past, going even before my time, historically the town has, if there are 8 kids or less, it seemed to have been the over-under. Don't ask me where that came from, but I believe it had to do with the state regulations at the time. Have always regarded this type as a home occupation, not as an F10 operation.
Right.
And that's still my understanding that the state standards is that, it's that
I believe that's the
anything
case.
under 8 and under is considered a home occupation, teaching or not.
Right. Right.
Because you would hope that if you're taking your child to a daycare, that they're teaching them something and just not letting them sit on iPads for all day long, you know? I mean, I would think it's a blessing to have somebody who's trying to teach our up-and-coming commission members.
And again, as context here, if we shifted to, say, one of our wonderful churches having a daycare or nursery school, we'd be applying F10 then.
Yes.
Which we did. We just
Right.
did that recently,
Right.
the one by Watkins Park.
Okay. So I'm tracking and trying for us to be consistent in this. Are there any questions on this application? I'm going to venture into an area that I've actually been advised not to venture into, so I will do this because the public made mention of the HOA. And so I will just say, check me on this. But in my experience running HOAs, and with respect to the words of an HOA covenant, condition, the CCRs, most people refer to them as covenants, that when both the local law and the covenants address a similar issue, an activity, those sorts of things, the general rule is that the more restrictive wording will hold. So in other words, if the town or the local law were to allow something, but the HOA covenants explicitly prohibit that same something, the covenants hold for those residents who have those covenants.
With the caveat that's up to the HOA
Correct.
to enforce, not the town.
For the board to enforce.
And it's a zoning decision. That's it.
Yes, and so, and that's why I kind of led with, I'm dangerously going out of code adherence as a planning commission into just an understanding of the comment made about the HOA. Again, the HOA covenants are there. I believe as an owner of that house, that is another, that's another set of covenants that you have to follow. And so you have to handle that appropriately through the HOA. Most HOAs have something referred to, in my experience, architectural review board. If fences want to go up, if changes are made to the dwellings, color of the shutters sometimes, if you understand what I'm saying. And so I'm just being as transparent as I can as to saying the journey here with the town is restricted to our code, followed by the commission, and on to the Board of Appeals. But you may yet, as you've already experienced with fire inspections and the state and so forth. So I think you're tracking with what I'm saying here. Is that correct, Jan?
Yeah, I totally understand this. And
Okay.
Also, I sent Ms. Debbie a copy of the HOA
Mm-hmm.
we received when we bought the house,
Mhm.
and it permit having a daycare.
Mhm.
So it's already allowed under the HOA.
Okay, okay. So you're aware of those other things that have to be discussed, cleared, and approved, the manner upon which they are then put into that discussion, right, via the HEA. So you're savvy with all that. And I kind of felt you were, because your letter said you had already gone down the route with the fire inspection, the fire reviews, health with the county, et cetera. So again, I'm sure you know there's those other things called covenants that you have to follow. Okay.
Ralph, can I say one more thing, and I apologize?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that the signage, we did put up one sign on, I think it was on the, Summer Sweet Lane. We did put up a sign. I think it was Tuesday morning, or no, it was Monday night of this week here. So we put it out. No, it would have been here. It would have been last Monday.
Yeah.
So the sign on the property has actually been out for a week.
Yeah, and it's oriented with the front elevation of the property.
That's correct.
And I believe I'll call it the side street, but if you're facing the house to the right, you're now looking at Bridal Wreath.
Correct.
And
there was no signage there because it's off to the side. So.
Correct. Okay. I think that pretty much covers it. Oh, there was one question from a commissioner. We are seeing two different time frames. Your email talks about 7:30 to 6, and then the application says 7:30 to 6:30. Could you just verify what you believe will be the time frame?
Yeah, so we send email, we'll start from 7:30 to 6.
To 6.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was gonna do it from 7:30 to 5:30 because I'm gonna be the only one, taking care of the children. I'll try to limit the time as much as I can so I can, be, okay to work with the kids the whole day without, like I was trying to limit the time.
I understand.
But it's, yeah.
But right now,
7:30 to 5:30.
So 5:30, yeah.
And we are
been
not
shorter. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be shorter, but we are not going to operate during the whole time. This is just to accommodate the parents. So
Yeah.
some
Okay.
parents will have to
Yeah.
drop off their kids sometime early. They have to pick them early or late.
And that time frame, 7:30 to 5:30, would also encompass pickup, drop-off?
Yes.
Okay, so no cars would arrive prior to 7:30,
No.
and there should be no pickups after
5:30.
So
Yes.
for daycares, they only allow for like 30 minutes late pickup. So
Right.
we could see something coming at
Sure.
6, but this is going to be out of ordinary, not the ordinary.
Yeah.
It invariably happens with working parents, delays, et cetera. So no, I'm not looking for a hard line. I'm just looking for a target and a goal. 7:30, 5:30 is what I'm hearing. Okay, John, so we got that amendment or change. Any other questions, issues? I'm looking for a motion with regard to the home-based daycare application known as MABOA 2026-02. Is there a motion?
I'll motion that the Planning Commission provide a favorable recommendation to the Board of Appeals on the special exception request to establish a home occupation for the establishment of a licensed home daycare business at 1412 Summer Sweet Lane, Mount Airy, Maryland.
Thank you for the motion. Is there a second to that favorable recommendation motion?
I'll second.
It has been seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion made and seconded? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to provide a favorable recommendation with regard to this matter known as MABOA 2026-02, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Those who wish to abstain? The motion has passed. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The next agenda item we have is the introduction and discussion and possible approval of an additional carrier This is a telecommunications carrier to the water tower cell site, understood as elevated water tank number 2. Do we have a representative of that carrier? I believe the carrier is AT&T.
I don't believe they were going to come.
They weren't going to come,
We
Barney?
didn't necessarily tell them that they needed to be here.
Okay, okay.
Barney's
All right.
representing them.
Barney is now
Barney's
AT&T.
Yeah, he's representing AT&T.
I didn't mean
Other
that.
hat on.
I didn't mean that, Barney. I didn't mean that. Then let's lead off with a staff report, John, and recommendation.
Well, and I'm going to kick this to Barney, because again, I was out and I deferred it to engineering.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha, okay.
Because I didn't have time to write a staff report.
Barney, your floor.
All right, and I apologize if this doesn't meet the same format as John's staff reports. So AT&T approached us, it's been, I think, maybe close to 2 years ago, to have antennas on our water tower at North Main Street, next to the Wagner's Meat Locker. We currently have 2 carriers there, Verizon Wireless, and also BG&E has their own internal antennas there on that tank. They both pay rent. AT&T is looking to do the same thing, pay rent to be on the tower. The existing carriers each have a small pad site with a shelter and a generator. And again, AT&T would be doing the exact same thing. The layout on the drawing shows you that they're going to be on the roughly the south side of the building of the tank, next to the BGE shelter. Right next to any of the property lines, they got some distance there. Their power would be on the north side of the fence, that's right next to the power that's feeding the other shelters there now. They're going to run their lines around, their power around along the fence line over to the shelter, and then they'll have their lines going up inside the tank, so again, not visible outside the tank, and going up to the existing ring that's up there where the Verizon equipment is. They did come in with a separate ring option that they were trying to put another ring on the tower, and we're like, we don't see that being very favorable. We don't want to see, so many different levels of antennas and equipment up there on top of the tank. So we try to limit it to just that. So they worked with Verizon, and they were able to put that equipment on that same ring that exists today. So that's about all I have. We don't see any issue with it. We're asking for a favorable recommendation to do that.
Gotcha.
And I will say that the 2-year mark, that one of my comments that I brought up to Barney is that I feel like maybe some additional plastic slat privacy screening might be something to think about doing around the perimeter as part of this approval. So right now, there's no visible slatting inside the chain link fence that's existing. So basically, the whole site is existing except for the new location of the new thing. But I'm saying that we maybe have at least, I feel like it should be all the way around, not just along the front, because it might help alleviate some kind of sound that might be transferring potentially from the generator. That, again, I don't know how often the generators run, but they do cycle through once a week maybe to just make sure it's going to be operational if there's an issue. I don't think it's a daily cycle through. I'm not really exactly sure. But there's 2 existing carriers, as Barney was saying, and they currently have generators. This is a generator. That's a generator. So they're already currently out there. Not that I'm aware of, we've received any kind of complaints from any citizens of any kind of excessive generator noise.
Right. Okay.
And they will have a sound enclosure just like the other generators.
Right.
So it's minimal noise, but they do start generally once a week, just
Test.
to make sure that as a test. Yep.
Gotcha. Questions?
I have a question. So on that picture, where are the existing generators and where will this one be?
There's a generator there,
Okay.
and there's a generator there.
And then how big is this one going to be relative to those?
I can look at this other plan maybe, and it might tell me. Let me go back here.
Is it like
It looks like
within that box?
it's the smaller box here. That box there, I'm pretty sure is the generator.
Okay, all right.
And again, I don't think it has, this is the limits of disturbance is around the pad site. And then again, the new power wires will be running from the main power supply unit over here, around the perimeter and back. Again, my only comment to Barney back then was, that maybe we have some slatting, at least along this perimeter here, but I feel like around the whole perimeter might be good. Again, it's really hard to see down into that site from Main Street. So it's almost like people are oblivious to it, sort of like the Comcast.
And your comment about the slatting is kind of kicking me back to the similar kind of build out that was near the Papa John's.
Which is the Comcast site.
The Comcast.
Now, that one, I think we requested the perma hedge, which looks like a fake hedgerow.
Right.
Which I've driven by there. I don't mind it. I think it blends in with the existing foliage there fairly well.
I kind of like the idea because I know how it looks over there now near the circle and near that shopping center. And it's kind of hindsight. That was a good idea. And I know it's at a location where there is sight lines from North Main Street, Cottonwood, I think it's Cottonwood Avenue.
Correct.
Past the fire station. And then on the backside, like you show, Buffalo Road, right?
Right.
And I think the nearest residents, if I may ask that, I think the nearest residents would be the people who back up to this on Buffalo Road access driveways?
Correct.
That kind of thing? Yeah.
They're the closest.
I think they would, because the place we're talking about goes downhill, so the residents that would be kind of more up toward North Main, do you understand? They see more of the top part of the tower than they do what's at the base.
Right, and I think the grade does fall off towards these houses, to the rear of the property, towards Buffalo.
Right, yeah. So slatting's reasonable, but let me ask this question, and I apologize, commissioners, if I'm hogging here, but how would we do that because AT&T doesn't own the existing fence?
No, that's town property.
Okay, so would we then have a motion with a condition of approval that they fund I'm going to use a verb here, I don't know if the slatting of the town property fence?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that makes sense. And it would be minimal cost because we just replaced that fence.
Okay.
So where there were trees and stuff growing up inside within the fence line and stuff.
Okay.
All that was cleaned up. So it would be fairly simple to put slats in it.
And we kind of freshen it up,
Probably
right?
minimal costs.
Yeah. And again, Tom, I'm leaning on you on this. For a private party such as AT&T or their contractor or their representative to now supplement town property such as a fence with this slatting, there's no concern issue there. We just make it a condition of the motion and vote?
Yes, but now, having said that, you would probably fold into the lease that term, which itself would have to be approved by the town council, the lease I'm talking about. So that's how you would basically put that into effect.
Because we would expect them to maintain it, right?
What's that?
No, once we get it, it would be our property.
Okay,
They'd just be installing it at their expense.
I see. Okay, because I was getting a vibe from you that the lease would say they install it and they would also maintain it.
Well, you could do that too. There are any number of options you'd have. I would rather suspect, though, that the town, it being town property, would want it at the end of the lease term and would want to be, assuming not a tremendous expense, would be at least have the ability to go in and maintain it, fix it if it's needed, and not rely on AT&T to do it.
Okay.
But there's any number of ways you could structure it, but my larger point is to affect that that's got to be in the legal document, the lease.
I got you. Our motion wouldn't necessarily have to have that detail in it as far as the legal document adjustment, or would it?
You can, I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be the town council's call what goes into that lease.
I see, okay. So we could condition approval to include AT&T doing that, and that approval then would trigger the council then to pick it up from there and amend the lease under the attorney's guidance, I think is what I'm hearing.
Correct.
Okay.
And the other point, and you might have missed it because I was sort of talking about both things, but it was the slatting and then potentially even some type of evergreens planted along this edge here.
Some buffering.
Some additional, year-round foliage.
Okay.
Because again, this is really the only place you can kind of see in there from Candlewood, I guess, is that what it is? Is that right?
Cottonwood.
Cottonwood, sorry. So Cottonwood, so that was my idea. Also some evergreen that wouldn't impede their abilities to, it's not going to impede anything. It's not going to create any kind of high maintenance for the town. Again, if you look at the map, this is our parcel. It's this large triangle parcel. So we have adequate room that they could install that shrubbery as well.
And if we're slatting the fence, why would we put the trees on the inside?
Well, they'd be on the outside.
Oh, okay. I thought your laser was...
This is the fencing here, is the X with the
I
line.
got you.
That's the
Okay.
fencing.
Okay.
I'm saying on the outside here, but still on our property is what I was trying to get to.
I kind of like that idea to soften the whole thing, right? Add another layer of screening by way of vegetation, but again, kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of how we would invoke that in a motion. I'm worried that we would start specifying type of tree, distance between the trees, that sort of thing. I mean, if we said adequate vegetation screening of native plants, you see where I'm going?
Right. I mean, typically it would be on the site plan. So again, I'm not sure at what stage we're currently in the site plan review process. If we're still in preliminary or we're not in, we might be in finals, but we could put it on the site plan itself as a requirement and showing it on there. And then, of course, then come up inside the lease, showing those same items.
So what I'm getting as a cleaner path, Barney, jump in here, is that if we were to have a motion that disapprove the current plan with the need for the additions we've discussed, slatting and some screening, kicking it back through you to AT&T, that would basically say, this is a no-go, and they're the things that we're looking for, and then you would talk to them about a modified plan that would show those items. Is that accurate? They would come back to you?
Yeah, you could do that, or you could just have a condition that we add
Approve it.
a certain number of planning units to be determined by the town administrator.
Right, the zoning administrator or the town administrator or the planning and engineering, to make that determination. Again, this has been 2 years that this project's been sort of in the wings.
I understand.
So I don't want to deny it for that to be then another 6 months or more before
I got you.
approvals. Because again, this is a revenue generating item as well for the town.
Indeed.
So it has some benefits to the town.
I believe we had two questions here. Sean, we'll go with you first.
Could we just clarify, which section of the fence are we talking about slatting? The entire?
I feel like it should be the entire, because this is not, these are deciduous plantings around here. So in the fall and the winter, this is dead. This is all dead.
Yeah.
So I feel like that helps give at least some visual obstruction from the residents that are adjacent to it.
So slatting the entire fence, along with maybe some evergreen trees. I guess I'm just calling out that we're asking the latest tenant to do this when there's already two other tenants.
Well, and as far as what's these new things, what's fair across all of them? And so that goes back to kind of the fence thing, and that is, we own the fence, so it's clean as far as that. Now, do we look to AT&T to reach out to the other carriers and say, hey, it's been levied on me that I got to provide slatting and shrubbery You other folks, John, Barney, you got a comment on that?
I was just gonna say, I'm not sure if we know what, like Verizon, when they first came in, if they didn't have other requirements themselves, with access, with the fence itself, things that they might have had to do that this carrier doesn't have to do. So there, I just don't know all the details of what those two, but the slatting is pretty minimal as far as cost. I mean, I don't think we're asking for a lot.
Right.
You know, we're talking $25,000 or $30,000 a year for the lease itself. The slatting is going to be a small ticket in comparison.
Okay.
Again, I look at it as being, this is our opportunity to ask for that. They possibly could push back.
Right.
Well, then they don't become a carrier on our tower. So, I mean, I think, now's the time to ask. We don't want to ask 5 years from now when they've been on there, to go back to Verizon and be like, you need to pay a third of this for this surround. I mean, it is where we are. And
Verizon did pay to put the ring up there, so that
For
was a
everybody.
cost. Now they're going to utilize the existing ring.
Okay.
So do we need, I'm just asking, do we need the fence for security or just for buffer?
I was saying for visible,
Because you could just do a green
Buffers.
screen with like some, green giants or, you know what I mean? Couldn't you do something like that instead? Probably
we
even more
could.
cost-effective.
I mean, we could do that around the whole perimeter. Is that what you're saying? Or
Yeah,
just,
because I was saying that I think you were talking about doing green screen on maybe some of those other
This
sides, but
north
I'm looking
side.
at, 8, 9, and 10, and I am a little bit concerned about the noise from this additional generator. It would be nice to know how often they're gonna cycle it, and it would be nice to know how loud it is compared to the existing ones. I'm just like imagining, I shouldn't be imagining things, but imagining that, this gets installed and you're getting calls, like, what is this new
I
thing
would put
in
us
here?
into engineering.
I'm just saying, it would be good to know. It's like, some data points that would be nice to have before you make that decision.
Well, again, I think Barney said it, they only cycle on once a week potentially.
But we don't know
The
for
decibel readings, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what.
But again,
only
they are,
because it's so much newer than the other ones. Hopefully, newer is quieter.
should be
but
quieter because
could
it
be
should be
bigger, too,
inverted. And,
because-
I mean, if you ever heard one of those Honda generators, you can barely even hear them running, even.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
it just,
but
it
to
really
that point,
depends, yeah.
to that point, Martina lives across from the CMP or whatever it is now, the AT&T thing, and that generator is quite loud. And it's inside the building, but it has an exhaust pipe that's coming straight out the wall there.
Well, and I will say there's no greenery, there's no fencing, there's no separation. So when it's on, I hear it.
Right, there's
It is
nothing
quite-
buffering it.
Yeah, not
you know.
really.
Okay.
Right, so I mean, to your point, that's something that should be considered, more than, I mean, fences is like, that's fine, but, the sound still, I think the more like green screen you have, the better.
Well, again, I think the slatting is going to be a solid surface. It's not going to be, it might be the perma hedge or whatever, or it might just be the fiberglass slats that go very similar to our dumpsters around here. That's going to give you more noise, reverb to push it somewhere else than allowing just the green is just going to let it to go right through the shrubbery. So I feel like hopefully the slatting will make the sounds go up more than out.
So you think between the slatting and the trees, it should create a visual and as well as noise buffer?
I mean, unless we're gonna have them put in,
Give me going on
a giant wooden fence around the whole thing, but.
Yeah. Just another set of quick questions, and this is kind of code related between permitted uses and special exceptions. So every zoning district we have starts off with the purpose of that zoning district, permitted uses, and then it goes into exceptions. We just went through an example with R2 and home daycare. You know where I'm going on this. And so I believe this is RE.
I think you're right. I don't have my zoning map here. It's usually right here, but I think it is
Okay.
RE. And I would think it's permitted use because it's been existing.
Well, so that's what I want to make sure of, because I heard a moment ago that we're going to have a cover built. Is there going to be a weather cover?
No?
Like a structure with a roof or no?
No?
Enclosure.
I think I said wrong. The telecom equipment, I don't think is inside a shelter. I think it's exposed.
Okay.
The generator itself will have a shelter, meaning it'll have a sound enclosure.
Enclosure.
Right, and that's this item right here is the generator?
But not like I'm going to use the term carport,
No.
a four-cornered on stilts with a roof,
Right, no.
Okay.
No.
All right.
No,
Okay.
there's no roof. Right.
Okay, and the reason I was going down, because the permitted uses under RE includes accessory uses or structures. And if this design falls into that, the other two are detached dwellings. This isn't a detached dwelling. The other one is public parks and playgrounds. Obviously, that's not what this is. The last permitted use is, quote, accessory uses or structures. When you go to the next paragraph on uses that have to get a special exception, they list public utility building. And that's why I was just curious if we were approaching something known as a building. You've told me no.
Right.
So again, for us to make a decision here and not kick it to the Board of Appeals, you see where I'm going? This would have to be an agreeable accessory use or structure. And you see where I'm going, commissioners? All right? So for us to own this decision, it has to be an accessory use or structure. Is everybody agreeable to that? Okay. All right, good. I'm not advocating we go the Board of Appeals route, nor should anybody here, but I just want to make sure we're in the same category of permitted uses language. Okay. So the recommendation and the discussion is leaning me toward a motion that should have a condition of approval, which invokes the, I will allow it, Councilmember Mundy.
You have to come to the mic, sir, and talk in the microphone.
I wasn't sure if you were saying you were going to be allowed.
I did. Come
Now
on up.
or later? Later.
Real quick, though.
I just wanted to get this one before the recommendation. Carl Munder, 2002 Fieldbrook Lane. I had one question regarding the type of generator that was there. I was going to ask if it was diesel or natural gas. The plans are indicating it is a diesel generator. So my question is, the existing generators that are there with the other diesel, and if so, are there site conditions present to, I want to say, handle any overages or spillage if they're filling the tanks at there or the tanks leak?
So the only, the tanks are belly tanks underneath the generator.
Okay.
So they're contained, that is their containment.
Okay.
There's no additional spillage.
Okay, so no separate tanks or anything. Okay. No, that's.
And I would suspect that those tanks are probably dual line. Most of those are probably dual lined, I would think, just to avoid those punctures. And again, those tanks are also inside another metal container.
Yeah.
So you have 3 walls to get to before you'd actually get to the fuel itself.
And probably not large capacity.
I wouldn't think so.
Because it's a 30 kilowatt generator, so it's probably not that large.
Right, usually enough up to 24 hours
Okay.
runtime.
Okay. All right, cool. No, I just want to make sure we weren't, this is not a 35,000 gallon tank outside exposed or anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question of Barney real quick?
Sure, Steve.
Just for my general information, it doesn't really have anything to do with the actual request. I've never seen a water tower, but they are saying that they would require a separate cable ladder, and they would have its own entry hole or something like that. Is there a limit as to the number of things, ladders, holes that we can put on the tower?
No, in fact, we encourage them to have a cable ladder. We don't want them to tie on to our existing, ladders that we actually climb, which.
It looks like there's already two ladders on the tower already.
I think on the inside, it just has one that both carriers are currently using.
Okay.
And that this one will have to add to it.
Okay, I'm just curious because I've never seen how that works, so thank you.
There's actually an entry door kind of right here on the side of the base. And then there's a hole that goes right through here that's about 12 inches in diameter where all their cabling will run through. So they'll run that cabling through there. If there's any additional ladder, I would think it would have to be in the inside of this column going up. Is that what you're saying, Barney? Is that, I'm not sure about the extra ladder.
On the schematic, it shows the tower. I don't know if you have that in there.
I believe they're doing another penetration. But again,
that one,
we're
if you turn it-
talking about kind of a limited size penetration for a cable tray to go through.
Okay, on the right where it says proposed cable ladder, and then it says proposed routed inside of water storage tank, proposed cable ladder through proposed access holes. So to me, those would be all new.
Correct.
Versus what was currently being used. So I just was, like I say, I'm not familiar with how those work. I was just curious for my own.
Yeah. The biggest concern we had was actually going up through the tube once you get up to the tank. And so going through that 40 foot of tube, which is, you know, just like a manhole going up through the middle of it. How tight that gets when somebody's climbing and they have these cable trays that are nearby. But we wanted to make sure that they were out of the way of somebody climbing,
Okay.
which they are.
In the sheet index, it shows generator details on sheet C6, but I don't see that in our packet. Do you have that?
We did not include that in your packet because the packet, I think it was like, I don't know how many drawings it was. It was an enormous amount of drawings.
Yeah, the
We were giving
detailed
you more of
compound.
this, just the site plan drawings. Yeah.
Well, right, but the detailed compound plan and the generator detail sheets would be maybe helpful.
Yeah. We did review them. They do have the sound requirements on it, and they're not exceeding anything that people are going to hear.
Barney, on the reference of this, I can use the term site plan. I can use the AT&T plan for elevated tank number 2 dated 7/31/25. Would that be adequate to refer explicitly to this? And I'm getting at the scope of work, just so we're clear about what we're approving, okay?
Okay.
All right, so is that fair as far as conveying that back? Okay. Any further discussion? I'm prepared to make a motion. I motion to approve the accessory use and structure at the base of elevated tank number 2 as depicted in the AT&T site plan dated 7/31/2025 and its scope of work, with the conditions that fence slats be added to the existing fence and the applicant coordinate with the town planning and zoning administrator to add reasonable native vegetation outside that fence. Is that in line, Barney? John, Barney?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I need to repeat that? Everybody good? 2 conditions, fence slats and vegetation. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hadley. Any further discussion on the motion?
Do you want to include that the vegetation is like evergreen, or
Well,
that's figured out?
I did kind of limit it to native.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of leaving it, John, to, you work within that boundary to do something reasonable.
Yep.
Yeah, and reasonable is trying to also capture how many, the distancing, the maturity, because all those, we've worked landscaping many times, and you can get into all those dimensions of vegetative buffering, so, okay. So I'm not going to edit the motion, so the motion stands, it's seconded. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Those that abstain? Okay, the motion passes. And Deborah, I can provide you that wording, or you got it? Okay, gotcha. I know you're good. All right, so last item is the introduction and discussion of ordinance 2026-22, mobile food units known as MFUs. And our role here is, this was introduced at the last council meeting, so as you know, draft ordinances come to the Planning Commission for a recommendation back to the council. As a bit of history on this, you all know that we have looked at this similar kind of draft ordinance before. And if I recall, we had the sponsor, the town administrator, Jared, discuss it with us over a course of meetings. And then our final recommendation back, correct me if I'm wrong, was to recommend disapproval. It went back to council, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councilmember Kelly, it was reintroduced and did not get seconded, and so it died.
Correct.
Yeah, and so it's now been revised, it's now alive again, and back to us to follow the same route. John, I encourage, did I miss anything?
No, I would just add to that we're, again, this is something that, again, you guys have seen before, and was hoping that we could hopefully get something back in front of the town council as soon as possible. We do have other mobile food units that are sort of trying to gain traction, and we have no enforceability of any kind, even if we had to change this later, to sort of control that
Understood.
opportunity. So again, I mean, you can take as much time as you want, but I feel like we should try to get something back to the town council as soon as possible.
And as far as who we should discuss the content, is that you? I don't see Jared here.
Yeah, the author is not here tonight, so,
Okay.
but I can try to reach to that. I mean, Tom also was, you didn't draft this, did you, or did you?
Yeah, I assisted. Yeah.
Okay, so he might be
Probably
the
highlight a few things that
better
are
one
different
to.
from the last one.
Okay.
The attempts. Would also say that there is some school of thought that that these are, one could argue, are not permitted in the town right now, because the zoning code specifically prohibits that which is not specifically allowed, and these are not. So part of the problem, or the rush, if you will, is that we had one of the pop-up, and they maintain they're perfectly entitled to do that, even though it's a secondary and not accessory use on their property, without having gotten a zoning certificate. So there are, I would take issue a little bit with their contention that there isn't something in the code enforceable. I think there is. But having said that, the distinctions here, I think the attempt here was to respond to a couple of criticism, legitimate criticism to the last one, when the last one was a lot more complicated. It had various categories of types of mobile food units. By and large, the attempt here is to provide one single mobile food unit, and what adheres to a particular application in terms of what they have to submit, the rigors of that, and their restrictions and all of that depends on it for how long or how regular the application is sought. So there's a bit of simplification for that. Number two, however, there is a broadening of the definition of a mobile food unit, to tents and pop-up operations, which is the type of issue that has come up most recently. In addition, I think there was some criticism that perhaps the last ordinance went too far in attempting to, provide some economic protection to brick and mortar type of operations within the DTZ. I think this is much more focused on the traffic issues that an unregulated number of food units within the downtown area can create. So the attempt here, I think, is to do that. By and large, that's, at least in a summary fashion, what's different here versus the original one. That's not to say that this can't be improved, but I think at least that was the attempt in sort of redoing this in my consultations with Jared.
So as we kick off the discussion, and going back to how we handled the previous draft ordinances, I elaborated on the commission trying to avoid an interaction with the ordinance sponsor that creates revision 2, revision 3, revision 4. And so I just want to touch upon that again, is that I'm not looking for our interaction with Tom or any of the town staff to expect, I'll be back next meeting with the next version, okay? And so having said that, I do want to make sure that town staff or Tom, as we begin raising points and suggestions and thoughts, there's a way to record that without a motion, favorable or unfavorable, that elicits each one. You know what I'm saying? So again, my expectation is that we do arrive, perhaps this meeting, perhaps next meeting, we arrive at a recommendation, and the interaction on suggestions, when we give them in a moment, beginning down the line here, either Tom or the town staff acknowledge it and say, yeah, it's worthy, or I can understand that. And so there's feedback versus a revision. There's feedback that says, yeah, noted, under consideration. Is that fair, Tom? Yep. Yeah. And because again, none of us want to have a motion that puts 35 changes in the motion. We'll never get that done. And so I'm kind of thinking when we do get to it, it'll be a favorable or unfavorable with those suggestions made and acknowledged, if that's fair in a kind of a general sense. Okay, is everybody with me what I'm trying to say? So let's fire off, and in any order, I don't care. Does anybody have any things that they raised as they went through this new draft ordinance? And Tom and town staff are kind of, bless you. You're kind of on the receiving end of this now, with kind of like pondering, yeah, it's good or it's bad, or just simply say noted. So it's received. Anybody want to start? Steve? Yeah.
All right, let me give you a shot at this. I'm glad I'm on this side, not on that side with 3 minutes.
Oh, I didn't give you a limit. Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so under 73 mobile food units definitions, they talk about utility connections. Is a utility connection, does it have to be a permanent connection, or can it be a water line, or can it be a hose? Can it be a extension cord, or does it have to be a hardwired electrical circuit? A gas line or a propane tank from another business? I'm not sure what the definition is intended to be there. The next line under the recurring and seasonal mobile unit, the definition or the sentence kind of cuts off, and it says, you go down to the third line, provided that the mobile food unit, and then blank. And then examples of recurring or seasonal. So I'm not sure what they meant to put into that position. So that's kind of tough to understand what that means without that. I'm not sure where it says under B, exemptions, the ordering of food and beverages for future delivery. I have no idea what that is supposed to mean. We jump down to 73.3, number 2H, and they talk about proof of maintenance liability insurance coverage acceptable to the town and listing the town as an additional insured. I'm not sure how that can happen. I mean, maybe that's something for Tom.
Well, these businesses carry comprehensive general liability coverage, and so they go to their insurance agent, have them issue a certificate of insurance or a COI that adds the town as an additional insured under their insurance coverage. So there's backing for any kind of indemnification. So if there's no insurance backing,
yeah, I just didn't know if insurance companies will actually list some other entity.
It will for a premium, sure.
Okay. I is a duplicate of F where it says written authorization to operate on private property from the property owner, and then I is written consent of the owner of private property on which the unit is proposed to operate.
Yeah, I had the same note too.
So in K, they talk about the mobile food unit operating 2 days within a 7-day period. But then we talk about a recurring in the definitions as 3 days within a 7-day period or more than multiple consecutive weeks or months. So I don't know if that needs to be changed to the equivalent definition of 3 days or keep it at 2 days or I'm not sure. It seems like it's the same as, it should be the same as the recurring definition in the beginning. A single permit for multiple mobile food units may be applied for and issued for a special event. Does that mean that if Main Street has a festival and MAMZO or somebody is the group putting it on, do they provide or do they ask for a single permit for multiple mobile food units? And then do they in turn have to make sure that the insurance requirements are met by all the individual vendors that they bring in? Or how does that coordinate with insurance with an event like that?
I can tell you right now, so Mobile Food Truck Monday, I received an email from Sherry Cates showing us the layout of where all the different units are going to be. She's supposed to be providing anybody who's coming to the Food Truck Monday with all their credentials and all their information. And my understanding is when we move forward, it'll be a one-time fee that they'll be paying for that Food Truck Monday and not a recurring cost that'll occur on each of the individual items or whoever's attending.
But it would be her responsibility to make sure if the insurance thing goes through that they all have the appropriate insurance, listing the town as another.
That would be part of their initial package they would have to submit. We'd have to provide that information, making sure that it is covered.
Okay.
And I think it's working out better this year than last year because they're kind of centrally locating everybody to one side. Before they were sort of everywhere, and I felt it to be very unsafe. So we've kind of done like a circling of the wagons so that people are sort of contained in that one area for picking up food, ordering food, and then either eating the food in that same location.
But again, to kick this horse for detail, and that is, I believe Steve is saying that when that application comes in under this order, this ordinance, that packet would include the names and the details of the vendors and a COI that also shows the town as an added insurer.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, and then I had a concern as far as recurring versus seasonal versus a unit that's in place and they have no intention of moving the unit ever. So currently, I guess it would fit under recurring definition, but I think that should be, I don't know if we need to have a permanent position on that. And the only reason I go there is because, as with the first one, I didn't think it was fair that the brick and mortar had a say in what the other food units were, they're going to be in town within 500 feet. I also don't think a permanent one should not be required to meet the same requirements as the brick and mortar if it is in fact going to be in a permanent position. So I have a little concern there. So also we're talking about the grandfather or legacy clause, I guess. And it says something about if it's been in the business has been in effect prior to XYZ date. Well, is it if the business has been established by XY date, or is it the business has been in Mount Airy by XY date? So technically a business can say, well, I've had my business for 3 years, so I was in business prior to the effective date you guys are listing. So where does that go?
That would not be my interpretation.
Well, that's why I'm saying, I'm just asking because what we don't really have, does it have to be within the town? Or have they had to have operated within the town before a certain date? Or, I'm not sure. Like I say, I'm just kind of reading it as a layperson that says they have to have been in.
Which section is that again?
In business.
-4.
On here.
Grandfathering.
4, I think.
Yeah, 73-4.
And I guess like you're saying, in operation within the town of Mount Airy would be the other, additive, right?
Well, that's why I say I'm concerned that there's ambiguity there so that, depending on how we want to do that. Going down to the seating, I think that's kind of unreasonable because you might have a trailer that's 8 by 10, 6 by 8, and they're saying that the maximum seating is equal to the square footage of the unit. I don't know how that's going to work. On page, I guess it's 6, or the site and circulation, it says the mobile food units must operate on paved or otherwise approved surfaces. And then it says in the next line that they cannot block sidewalks or driveways. If a private person is having a party and they hire a food truck, they can't put it in the street. And according to this, they couldn't necessarily put it in their driveway. So I'm not sure where they would be able to park it. On M, it says that a vendor may not primarily operate as a merchandise vendor and sell food incidentally, but they could sell merchandise incidental to the sale of food. So if you're at the market and you're selling widgets, you can't have a cooler with sodas and water and sell along with your product. But if you get the permit, it says, well, I'm going to sell water and sodas, and get the permit for that, but then you can sell your product as a incidental to the sodas and waters. That seems kind of unusual. And then again, like I say, trying to be fair to the other businesses in town, as I try to be as neutral as I can, I don't think the legacy and the grandfather clauses are appropriate, because if a business comes into town later, or if there's a current business that's in town and decides they have the opportunity to set up a food truck or a mobile food unit in the town zone, this is restricting anybody from doing that anytime in the future. And I don't think that's fair to the other businesses currently, or the ones that may be moving into the town at some point in the future. Okay, so this restricts anything not operating within town within XYZ date of operating a mobile food unit in the town zone.
Oh, in the downtown zone.
Downtown zone. Yeah, I'm sorry, downtown zone. Yeah. And I just don't think that's fair to, like, say, for instance, say Upper Deck decides they want to put something in their parking lot in the future, and this is restricting them from being able to do it anytime in the future. Or if another business comes into town and they have the same decision to make, they're not able to do it because of this. And I think that's what I got.
Okay, next.
Well, I echo almost all of that. So I won't repeat everything. I'll try not to. I was trying to check off what you said as you were going through. A question I had on the definitions as I was reading these, I think some of the existing food units could meet more than one of these, and I just wanted to know if that was okay, or if the intent was it's a one-to-one relationship with the definitions, or if they could meet more than one definition. And I just did want to comment on the same thing about the utility connection, is plugging into an extension cord or something, is that considered a utility connection? I think we just need to be clear about that. I also, well, I won't repeat it. You already said it. But the one thing, but no, there's no need. I did kind of wonder why B3 was there. Maybe that should be under grandfathering, but it just seemed like we were being very specific in calling out a very specific business in the ordinance. And so maybe that should just be under grandfathering.
The snowball stand?
Yeah. Just seemed a little, oddly specific. And F, so the written authorization to operate the mobile unit on private property from the property owner. I mean, I think that's a little bit odd for the town to get involved in private business like that. If there's a permit for it to operate separately, then that's one thing, or to operate at all on the private property if that's required. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think it's weird for the town to get involved in the business of.
I think the intention is to prohibit a food truck from plopping itself on private property without that property owner's consent.
I think, yeah, and I understood that. My question was if the property owner knows about it, then they would probably, take it up with someone. So it just seems a little bit onerous to me for that one, potential instance. I don't know.
I think that could occur in many places. There could be, somebody could set up a food truck on the shopping center at Food Lion.
But if they have to have the
property owner doesn't maybe not know about it until they see the truck or hear, hey, Bob, there's a food truck in your trailer, in your parking lot.
Right, but who's submitting the permit?
That should be the
Just the
applicant.
food truck?
The food truck should be, but what they should have a signed affidavit from the owner stating that we're allowing this to happen between this dates and these dates.
Okay, but if it's like, Bobby Joe having a wedding on their property, do they have to also show you that? I mean, it just seems like
Well,
it could
that's a
get,
private event.
but that's a private property.
Right, but it's a private event.
The private event is an exemption. I think that the idea here that you don't want a situation where the town has issued a permit allowing the mobile food unit, and then the owner comes in and goes, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
That's my property. We did have a similar situation where at least the landlord contended he did not know that Wagner's was going to be there.
Right.
So now putting this in here, would that property owner then be able to come back and say, I'm not gonna write that?
Sure, but the property owner ought to have that say, right? They ought to be able to say whether or not they're going to permit that
You're
use.
creating a situation, I think, here. Unless it's the grandfathering covers it, I think you're creating a situation where an existing business could have an issue. If this is.
Well, in that situation, we had an owner that was leasing the property to another individual who then put the food truck in there without approval from
Sublease, basically.
subleasing the property from an owner who was unaware of it until he was aware of it. And again.
And that's, to me, that's private. That's their business.
I don't know.
Okay.
Seems
So moving on to H, let's see. Oh, yeah, this is the same thing as naming the town as an additional insured. But the question that I had is, I could understand for one that's here regularly, but if it's like ones that are just coming in, do you expect that they would still have that? Do we need to make sure that it's only for certain types or?
Seasonal or recurring versus.
And there's also issues about limits and the affordability of a premium and all of that. But I think that's the intent of unless otherwise waived by the town. I think the intention here is to, adjust the requirement in accordance with how permanent the use is.
Okay. And then are F and I duplicates or is that different? They're both talking about the consent of the owner of the private property.
That's what Steve has mentioned as well. It's a little different in the wording, but seem very similar, so I don't know.
Okay.
Not being the author.
That can be.
Okay, and then just throughout the document, there's a lot of like, at the discretion of the town type things. And I just think that creates issues. I mean, I think you're leaving a lot of, I think you should be very clear in what the requirements are and not a lot of like, well, we might ask you for this information, because then like, you know, there could be issues of, well, you didn't ask them for that, but you asked me for that.
Yeah, I think the tension there is the more you require, you get back to the same, it suddenly starts looking a lot like the last ordinance and very complicated.
But then could you just take out or other circumstance where town staff may otherwise require, I mean, maybe that's not an appropriate one, but there's other ones in here that are kind of
right.
like, it makes it a little bit wishy-washy to me and just leaves it open to interpretation. And I think businesses should have, you know, some clear understanding of what their parameters are. Okay, another thing in here, I don't know which section it's in, but I saw I think it was under the seating maybe, where they were talking about the 100-foot buffer from residential. And actually, it was partly why I asked the question earlier about whether the ones across, the DTZ ones or downtown zone properties count as residential, because you could have lots of food trucks operating in that parking lot, you know, that could be within 100 feet, I don't know, I haven't measured it, but of like those apartments above the businesses in town.
So Food Truck Monday, again, currently the nearest resident is probably up the hill off of Church Street, I think it is, or possibly the ones from, well, if you're talking about Walker's.
No, I'm talking about the ones, right above the plumbery and
Right.
all of that. Like, that's right next to the rail yard.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think they're more than 100 feet away, at least for the rail yard and the Food Truck Monday. And again, that's also a special event permit. So I think, that's where we really have to look at as well.
How would that affect the existing business?
How would that affect?
Sure.
I'm sorry, ask
Like,
that one again.
like the existing business that's there across the street from
Walkers.
a residential.
The Walkers.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that that's probably where the grandfather comes in. I mean,
So what if,
so they
I'm just saying, like,
they
if
would grandfather in, and just kind of like a non-conforming use,
there was another, back before Walker's was there, though, they would have other food trucks
Sure.
park, like Crying Johnny's would park in that parking lot, and they would have, I don't know if they had seats outside, but, I mean, that's just kind of, that could create an issue with that 100-foot rule.
I think they did.
Yeah, and then,
But that seating is also part of liquidity and not really their own individual seating.
Right.
So it's sort of, and again, we have benches out there in the rail yard that people can utilize. Again, there's no residence within 100 feet of that.
I do know, in speaking with Jared, this particular, is it 100 feet, right? Is it 10 feet? Is it 50? I think he may have gotten this from other codes, but I don't think I think it's very much worth discussing whether 100 is too much.
right, I mean, and maybe just looking at what is a normal setback
Yeah.
requirement. And then like M, on the next page, that section M, any additional information, that's just kind of going back to what I said before. The town may deny permits in order to limit the number of permits and mobile food units in operation within the town. I do understand that, it's calling out based on the proposed traffic health and safety considerations, but again, I mean, it gets kind of into the territory of, the town could limit the number for competition reasons as well. Got the seating, the distance. The private property is mentioned again in J. I guess it's a different part of the code. Yeah. And then, 73-7, section or paragraph B. A portion of fees may be allocated to support, ma'am, did you already talk about that?
No, I didn't, but I actually forgot about it ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that just seems strange to me to call out in there. I mean, the fees should be there to cover the cost of enforcement and the permitting, and I don't know that profit from that should be, and because.
Yeah, I had that same comment and I forgot,
And specifically, the town will no longer, this is from Town Administrative Report, June 2026. The town will no longer utilize MAMSA as the formal administrative partner organization for the Main Street designation. Instead, the town will directly administer the program moving forward. So that's even more reason that they shouldn't necessarily put that in there about a portion of fees. Any fees should go into in my mind, should go into the town coffers, and then they just send it out through the budget process with whoever they decide to support.
I agree. I mean, and it also, I mean, these food trucks are going to be in more places than just the downtown zone. So that, to me, just doesn't need to be there.
Well, again, MAMS is also the person who is granting the liquidity sign. Again, I agree. I don't think we should be giving that money, and we should be, as the town administrator said, that we should be administrating those funds.
Yeah.
Those grant applications should be coming to us for signage like that, because there was a miscommunication between MAMSA and the town's requirements. It's happened multiple times, and MAMSA is saying, oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, put that up. It's like, whoa, wait a second. You know, there's requirements and there's approval processes that have to happen. You know, you can't just blatantly just throw up some digital signs on a building downtown.
Yeah.
You know, and
I just think it would be smart to maybe just take that.
remove
take
this
that out,
possibility.
yeah. And then the last thing, it kind of goes back to what I said on the first version of this. You know, and it's in 73-8 paragraph A, the town is empowered to conduct inspections. And I have like serious concerns about the town's ability to keep up with like this additional permitting, you know, all these different permits that are going to be coming in. And I mean, I don't know if there's as much of an issue as there seems to be because we're doing this in the first place, then that's a lot of, you know, paperwork
Code
review.
enforcement.
Yeah. And I think
Well,
that
now
this.
it'll come to the zoning administrator that's going to fall on my doorstep.
Well, right,
Either
so then
to-
is the town going to need to hire somebody to come in and handle all these requests?
Part-time,
and-
because it might be, depending on how many requests comes in.
It's more of a
Again.
cost, yep.
Yep.
So just in general, final comment is that I still think that this is really onerous. It's a 9-page, you know, document. It could probably be like 5 and accomplish what we're trying to accomplish here if we're just worried about someone setting up in the wrong place or maybe not having the right, you know, they're not following the county health regulations, whatever. I just think that this is still a little bit complicated, a little bit onerous for small business owners, and I think it could be simpler.
Okay. Bill, your comments?
I agree with what she's saying. It seems inconsistent at this point.
Okay.
It could be clarified, further clarified.
Okay. I'll move into some comments. Let's see. On page 2, lead in, quote, special event, unquote. Focusing on, it says, occasion where more than one mobile food unit will be operating on the same property. So it's not uncommon that we have like a gas station where 2 food trucks or a food truck and a pop-up, you know, set up, that sort of thing. And so I'm just kind of looking at the words and I'm kind of looking at the instance where we have like 2 food trucks or a food truck and a pop-up. I believe that at a gas station would become a special event because it says 2 or more. And I'm not saying that's bad and I'm not saying that's reasonable. I'm just saying we now have made that gas station food offering a special event based upon that criteria. The second item I have is the bottom of page 2, Bolex 3. It talks about food units is expected to materially impact traffic, et cetera, or otherwise generate impacts on public or other private property. So it sounds subjective. It's a difficult thing to kind of say definitively it's X, Y, Z, but I apologize, I don't offer any other kind of wording, but impacts is subjective. And so I think when when I encounter draft language like this, really the true test of refining it and making it better is simply experience. It's just having something happen, you addressing it by way of this initial wording, and then impacts now become something that you can hone and refine. So I acknowledge impacts is subjective, and I think putting this in motion will help us maybe toward bettering that paragraph. On page 3 at the top, kind of resonating with what Steve said about operating on private property for private event. So, you know, they got to be, if we have an operation in front of a private residence, but the truck has to park on the public street, the question on Bowlegs 4 is, for it to be operated on private property for a private event, operating in private events may be, let me take the example. We've had real estate brokers who have open houses and they kind of entice you to come look at the open house because they offer free ice cream. I mean, I've seen it. I always go and get my free, but the truck is on the public thoroughfare, but it's a private event. And so I don't know if we have to kind of gauge those circumstances, but that's clearly one that says it has to be operated on the private property. Well, it's on a public thoroughfare in that instance. So may need some looking at to kind of take into account that. We've already addressed the seasonal snowball stand. Let's see. Going down to page 3, under 73.3, capital B, all mobile food units located on public and private property within town must comply with all applicable zoning, parking, and so forth. And so I think, Tom, you were actually riffing this particular item that I wanted to mention to you, because it goes on to say, must comply with applicable zoning in chapters 98, 112, and so forth, and that's where we have addressed all of our zoning districts, right?
112, you say?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah, and so in that, and I've probably now done this the 4th time tonight, in all of our zoning districts, we lead off with a description and an intent of that zoning district, be it residential, be it whatever, and then we have permitted uses with a short description of dwellings if it's residential, and then we have special exceptions which have to go through us to the Board of Appeals. You guys understand the format, and that's consistent through all that. So when we say all mobile food units located on public must comply with all applicable zoning, I'm almost hearing, Tom, and I hate to make work, but it almost sounds like to connect that wording to our existing zoning district wording, we have to now put something into each zoning district that says permitted use. Am I off mark?
Well, we were trying to avoid that, very frankly, and the best way to have done that is the 112 changes we did, or not the best way, but the most, I don't know, efficient way without making a 7-page ordinance, 20 pages. But, you know, what you're saying is not lost on me. I get it.
Gotcha. And again, I apologize. I don't have the right word to say this fixes it, but you kind of get the spirit of what I'm saying as a question mark. If we say it must comply with and the zoning doesn't address it, then it's kind of a disconnect, perhaps. Okay, 7, very quickly.
What section was that on?
That,
so I can get that note.
You betcha. 73-3B, Bravo.
3B. Okay,
Gotcha. Okay. And I'm swinging over, Steve's already mentioned on page 4, F and I almost look like the same words. So I don't know if there's a nuance there I'm missing, but I believe you mentioned that too, Steve. written authorization and then written consent. Consent and authorization sound kind of synonymous. Anyway, comment number 8 is just below that, Bowlegs J. It talks about a site layout or plot plan, et cetera, utilities, access, buffering. What would a food truck bring to the game that would be buffering? Is this a mobile portable screen?
No, I think the space between.
Okay.
I don't think this is referring to like the buffer we were talking about relative
Vegetation, that sort of thing. Gotcha. Okay. And I'm on page 6 in the middle, capital C. This is a nit, Tom, but the second line of C, it says shall maintain a clean R. I think that's area. So it's.
I'm sorry, where is this? I'm sorry.
Page 6, capital C, second line that starts with at least one trash and one.
Area,
Yeah, so I think that should be area.
Yeah,
No, like I said, it's a nit, I'm sorry. And then the next page, page 7, Steve has already brought this up about must operate on paved or otherwise improved surfaces. Again, kind of reiterating what Steve brought up. If this is a yard party, birthday party, and the guy says, just pull it around back on the grass, but then right below it says it must, operate on paved. So I don't know if that's restrictive in the sense of how some private residents may have food trucks operate. If the party's out back under tents, you're kind of forced to put the food truck on the paved road in the front.
Well, and it might be a tent under the definition.
No, I mean like a party tent. Oh, no, the homeowner has a party tent and, yeah. Oh, you're saying it,
Tents count as food trucks.
but that's a private owner. Oh, now you really got me going. Okay.
Well, no, I mean, it brings up a good point.
I mean, I was thinking tent for seating and.
But also, if tents are part of the definition of a mobile food unit, then, do they have to be on an otherwise improved surface or pavement? That's all.
But they're not serving generally what you're talking about is you go get your food and then you walk to the tent to consume.
Right.
That, I don't think that's an MFU.
Okay.
In that instance.
Okay. And the last item, I promise, is on page 8 when it talks about enforcement. Just to make a note, under B, Tom, it talks about some numeric fines, 400 for first offense, 800 for subsequent.
Correct.
And then when you drop down to D, right below it, Delta, it says subject to the fine set forth in 11222A. When I look at 11222A, it says first offense is $100 fine, and second and subsequent offenses are $200. So all I'm trying to say is it sounds like there's 2 fine amounts. And again, maybe the fix is maybe say what 11222A says, perhaps, is the easy fix. That's all I have. Martina?
Or change 11222-8.
Or change 112 and raise.
Probably long
These
overdue.
are, right, these are antiquated, just like our permitting fees and everything.
And
All that
raise
stuff
the
is
fine, yeah.
So old, that it's kind of like to the signage, it's.
Correct.
It needs to be updated.
Okay. I hope I don't repeat anything. I'm going to try and go as fast as possible. Under 73.5-5, and then we talk, H, right? They talk about the distance. Have they looked at the distance between the parking lot where they currently use the food truck Mondays versus the apartments? And would that be a better guide than just random 100 feet?
I don't know what they looked at.
Okay.
I think that's from codes that Jared had found doing his research.
Do we happen to know the distance?
I can figure it out. I'm going to say it's,
Because if there
Probably
haven't,
200 plus feet, if not more.
okay. I mean, if there haven't been complaints regarding that, I'm just wondering if that could be a guide or not. But and then moving on real quick to K, except for trash and recycling receptacles, no merchandise, food equipment, other item may be stored or kept adjacent to the mobile food unit. Did we talk about generators? Have any of those guys, they just run through the trucks, right? Nobody's allowed to have a generator?
No, a lot of them have generators.
A lot of them
And that's
do.
really what keeps them
That,
separate
okay,
from
so
an
it's,
extension cord and a permanent,
but where are they
semi-permanent
putting
operation.
them?
The generators?
Yeah, are they putting them right next to the trucks? So that would be.
Sometimes they're inside the truck, there's exhaust outside, some of them are on the front bumper, some of them in the back of their pickup truck. You know, it's random, you know, depending on where it is. I mean, one food truck I went to actually had it, the exhaust was like blowing on me while I was trying to order food. I didn't order food from them. You
Yeah.
know, because it's like, I'm sorry, I don't need to have exhaust while I'm, you know, I don't know what their intention is, but that didn't work.
So, yeah, exactly. So I'm saying, like, you have equipment, but if they need generators to run their truck, but they have to stick it outside of their truck, are they gonna get dinged for that based on this? Maybe we could have something clarifying generator use.
I got it, yeah.
Oh, you got it, okay. And I think, is there one, let me just, if you'll allow me a second just to check. Because I think everyone else got everything else that I was thinking of, so hopefully that's it.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm writing some notes here. So on the back of a napkin, I captured 1, 2, 3, 30, 40. I captured 42 comments across, and that was really quick, yes. And I commend everybody, including the town staff, because we basically shotgunned you with all this, and so where I'd like to go now is kind of getting a consensus, not a vote, not a motion, but a consensus, a feeling across here. Is the spirit of what Tom and the town staff have described here as the new thrust, this is relative to the first thrust, is this new thrust good enough in its spirit to regulate the food truck industry in the town, which I think will just increase if we don't have some regulation, admittedly a personal comment. Is this good enough to get moving toward an ordinance that is sufficient to gain the experience? And I go back to what I said, perfect is the enemy of good enough. You know what I'm saying? Are we ever going to get to a perfect food ordinance that has every example like Ralph Gant gave, like, the broker selling ice cream, the party with the tent in the back? I think that's a tough challenge for any author. So I back away from that perfect ordinance to, is it good enough? Does it cover enough bases? Are there some warts on it? Yeah, I think our comments have said, hey, maybe this is an area that could be better. And I believe those comments have been noted as we agreed as the rules of this whole engagement at the outset. With that noted and with your input, is it good enough to say, I'm ready to make a motion, or are there still doubts in conversations and study that any commissioner needs to make to where we push this same discussion to next month? Is there any sentiment on that? Is anybody ready and confident in the spirit and the partnership we have on the receiving end of our comments to move forward with a motion? Anybody feel? You want to table it? I mean, do you want to push it to next month?
I think the question is, if we're not, we're not going to be reviewing amendments to it.
No.
And you have to address what's in front of you today.
Correct.
So if we're addressing what's in front of us today, then I could easily make a motion and,
Okay.
yeah, on that.
Okay. Any other view on that? again, well said by Commissioner Wallace. We're not into revising or having Tom come back with version 2 or 3. If what you've said to Tom and the town staff is the gist and the weight of your impressions of this draft, then I think you've done that. You've served your duty to review it and provide input, period. Across the board. So anyone willing to make a motion, favorable or unfavorable, given the comments provided to the town staff and town attorney?
I'll make a motion for an unfavorable recommendation to the council for, what is this, 2026-22.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion for unfavorable?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Hatley. Motion made for unfavorable. Any further discussion? And I'm going to open to the town staff on any of that. Okay.
That's fine with me. I will say that the distance is 262 feet approximately from the food trucks to the Plumry residential.
So we couldn't even have food truck Mondays then if they said,
No.
Yeah.
It's more than 100, it's more than 100 feet, so it's allowed.
oh, over. Oh.
Okay. Hearing no discussion, the motions have been made for an unfavorable recommendation to the council regarding this draft ordinance 2026-22, and seconded. All those in favor of the motion for unfavorable recommendation say aye.
Aye.
Ask, I should have done this beginning. Could I see a show of hands on your vote? All those in favor, aye, and a show of hands?
Aye.
Am I seeing 3?
It's everybody but you.
Oh, okay. All those against the motion say nay. Nay. Any abstain? Okay, the motion passes for unfavorable recommendation on 2026-22. Thank you. So we will get this back, John and Sean, into the council for the July 13th meeting, perhaps? Okay.
And I think the right avenue, and I'll talk to Tom about this later, is, creating some type of a memo sort of with what your concerns are with the ordinance, and then they can, make amendments at the table to the ordinance.
Exactly.
And possibly.
Exactly.
I don't know, would it still have to come back to them? No, the council could vote on
But
it.
it would have to go through a public hearing.
Right, but they wouldn't have to come back to this body. It could be with your amendments, either they might take them at the table, it might be presented by Sean for possible amendments, and then, again, the public hearing, and then.
Gotcha. Correct. Sounds reasonable. So closing that agenda item and moving to the end for reports and other business, Councilman Kelly, quick report.
Hello, sure. I actually have 2 meetings to report on in the last 2 months. I'll give you the highlights here. The council met on May 4th. 3 presentations that evening. Donation, I can skip these, some donations to the town for the storm siren, Historical Society, and it was also National Public Service Recognition Week. I think that includes everybody here. So, a bid for selective interior demolition of the Flatiron Building was approved. So there's progress on the building's rehabilitation. Let's see, as we just spoke about, the mobile food unit ordinance 2026-1 was not seconded. Ordinance 2026-6 to set tax rates for fiscal year 26-27 was passed unanimously. Rates did not change. Ordinance 2026-7 to adopt the budget for this fiscal year passed in a 4-1 vote. And there were several ordinances and budget amendments that were required to clean up the last fiscal year. Moving on to the June meeting, council met on June 1st. We got a presentation from Mosley Architects. They presented the latest concept design for the police station. A few points here. Unfortunately, the latest cost estimate, assuming groundbreaking begins in 2028, is coming in at $8 million total. The original estimate was less than $6.5 million, including the land. Needless to say, an almost 25% increase for 28% less building than was requested is not going over well with most of the council. We asked Mosley for a redesign that's within the original budget or as close to it as possible. Resolution 2026-10, water resource element was passed with a 4-1 vote. Ordinance 2026-2, Standards and Processes for Rezoning Properties, was passed with a 4-to-1 vote. However, the mayor has vetoed that, and I believe that will be on the July agenda for a revote where a supermajority must pass it into law. Ordinance 2026-22, sorry, the food truck ordinance was introduced for referral to you guys. And then the council will next meet on July 13th. That's all I have. Any questions?
No questions? Staff report? Zoning administrator report?
Yep, nothing changed.
Okay.
For 2 months.
All right.
Any questions?
And our next question?
I just had a quick question. So the fence permit for the home daycare is going to be on the next zoning administrator report? Or is it on here? Wait, did I just miss it?
No, it just came in today.
It just came in today. Okay, so next month. Thank you.
No questions to the staff? Then the next planning commission meeting will be on July 27th at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall. I am adjourning the meeting at 9:50. Have a safe evening. Thank you.
Well, again, if the